States. Al Holbert has won the last 3 IMSA GPs here. Bobby Rahal, the IndyCar champion, calls this his home track. The last time those two met, Sebring in March. Rahal won. All season, this Corvette has been the fastest car on the IMSA tracks. This Nissan has been second fastest, but they break down a lot. And these Porsches finish a lot of races. Holbert and Rahal, they drive Porsches.
The Mid-Ohio Grand Prix is being brought to you by Dodge, setting new standards of performance. And by BF Goodrich TA Radio, we make your car perform. And by Coors Light, the Silver Bullet. No slowing down with the Silver Bullet.
It is a bright and breezy summer afternoon in central Ohio. The dairy cattle are grazing contentedly. The large Amish community hereabout wrapping up their Sunday dinner. But here at the Country Club of American Road Race Courses, an international field of driving stars are about to sit down for the ultimate power lunch. Hello, everyone. I'm Dave Despain at the beautiful Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. We've come here live for the drama of the world's fastest sports car prototypes battling at 180 miles an hour. The Mid-Ohio Grand Prix, filled with fascinating stories. In 7 previous Camel Grand Prix races this year, 6 different winners. Great competition. Mario Andretti is here with his twin brother Aldo. They've come to watch their sons battle as teammates, and they've qualified very well. And up at the head of the field, we have walking wounded today, notably Elliott Forbes Robinson in the Nissan ZX. It was just a bit more than a month ago in Riverside, California, that EFR encountered a terrible problem. His car careening up the front straightaway. Suddenly, the left rear tire exploded, and he slammed into a solid concrete wall. The car totally destroyed, but EFR climbed out with just a broken shoulder. Today, the Nissan prototype, a replacement car, at the head of this field, and EFR is ready to return to the series. Bob Varsha will cover pit road today. He's with the Nissan team.
Thank you, Dave, and hello, everyone. Elliott Forbes Robinson in his first trip with the Nissan since a victory in Miami is on the pole, but the first question, Jeff, is about your teammate, Elliott.
Well, Elliott's doing real fine. You know, he did hurt his shoulder at Riverside when we had a bit of a problem there, but he ran a Trans Am race last week, and he's been doing fine this week. So as far as Elliott's concerned, there's no problem.
Let me clear up a misconception. You put the car on the pole and not Elliott. He will relieve you today. This is your first trip in the car since Miami. Any changes?
No, not really. The car's working really good, and like Miami, all we've got to do is go out there and beat everybody else, and we can win. It's not going to be easy. I think Al Holbert and the rest of the Porsches are going to be pretty tough, especially towards the end of the race.
There was some concern in the racing community. In fact, the tires that you were running at Riverside, those Bridgestone radial tires, were pulled off the car. You were running bias pliers on the car since that time. What's the tire situation vis-a-vis Bridgestone at this point?
Well, obviously we prefer to have the radials on the car, but, we did have a small problem at Riverside, and Bridgestone wanted us to go back to the cross plies till they sorted it out. And, the cross ply isn't quite as good as the radial, obviously, and but we just got to make best of what we've got. And, in qualifying, it was just good enough. So hopefully it'll be good enough in the race as well.
Good enough indeed. As Dave mentioned, on the outside of the front row, there was also a hurting race team. With more on that, let's go to my colleague, and today at the pit road here at Mid-Ohio, Chris Economaki.
Well, I'm with Al Holbert, the man who has won more races on the IMSA circuit than any other, 48, and many, many championships. He started the year out saying he wanted to do a little bit less driving, but it seems like he's been doing more and more, and today there's been some last-minute changes in plans due to your co-driver Chip Robinson's illness. Neck, what's the story? Will he share the car with you, or will you go it alone?
There's no way I can go it alone, not efficiently anyhow, but Chip feels much, much better, and the plan will be that I'll run either the one long session and the one short one, and Chip will run the long one, and if he feels good enough, he'll run 2 sessions.
What exactly is wrong with him, Al?
Apparently he's pinched a nerve in his neck or something, and these young guys, they get a little bit testy.
How's the course for somebody with his head lolling back and forth? The G-loads here aren't really all that bad, are they?
No, but they're consistent, and they're switchbacks. I mean, you go from one direction to the other a lot, and that's really what's hard on your neck as far as I can recall. And it's probably the most difficult place of all.
Okay, we'll be watching, and good luck to you. And now, ladies and gentlemen, you're going to hear the voice of a man who has been heard at racetracks all over the United States on track PA systems, on network radio, and on network television. Our host today, my colleague Ken Squire.
Thank you, Chris. Starter's orders just about to go up for 26 entries here in this 500-kilometer, 309-mile event on this 2.4-mile, 15-turn Mid-Ohio course. 129 laps, the distance to be covered today, hoping to break Al Holbert's record of a year ago, 3 hours, 7 minutes, 55 seconds for the event. Working alongside is Whitney Gantz, a fellow who formerly held the record here. What do you estimate this race to be today?
Well, I think the Nissan, which sits on the pole, certainly looks very strong, but its reliability remains a question. Therefore, I'm picking either the number 86 car, a 962 driven by the great Bobby Rahal or Jochen Mass, or as a dark horse, the 67 BF Goodrich 962. This team has done extensive tire testing lately, and they have Bob Wallach, the ace from France, to drive it this weekend. I think they'll get results for their new tires.
Well, thank you, Whitney. Yesterday, we put one of our in-car cameras to work in the BF Goodrich car, and Whitney Gantz will now take you around this course and describe all the variations these competitors will face.
We start our lap at Mid-Ohio by entering the track in the middle of turn 1. During the race, this turn is taken in 4th gear at about 120 miles an hour. On exiting the corner, we immediately shift into 5th, obtaining a speed of about 150. Now we enter this S-curve, a 3rd gear corner, probably about 100 miles an hour, on the power to settle the car, and into a corner called the keyhole. Keyhole is a 2nd gear corner, the most important corner on the track because it leads onto the longest straightaway. It's very important that you maintain very good exit speed here. You shift up through the gears, obtaining a speed of about 190 miles an hour on this backstretch here. A time to look at your gauges and get ready to brake very hard for this 3rd gear corner at the end of the back straight, taking probably about 100 miles an hour. Now flick the car into 2nd gear, up and over this rise, probably about 90 miles an hour, hard on the power, down the hill, hard on the brakes, stay in 2nd gear, shift up into 3rd gear underneath the bridge. The car will get light, right there, into 4th gear, hard on the brakes, select 2nd gear for this blind right-hander, probably 90 miles an hour, 3rd gear, 110, 4th gear, probably about 130, back down into 3rd gear. Must be very smooth for this corner. It's easy to go off the track right here, on the power hard, and into 2nd gear for the carousel, another important corner, and another important corner because it leads on to the pit straight, where you reach speeds of about 150 miles an hour in 4th gear. Across the finish line, and that is our lap of Mid-Ohio.
Here in the STP Pit Communications Center, in a moment we're going to run down some of the stories we'll be following today, but let's go quickly down to pit road now, a late-breaking story in Bob Varsha.
Yes, indeed, Dave Despain. We had hoped to have the inimitable David Hobbs joining us on the announce team for today's race, but as race drivers will, David found himself a ride in the Jack Roush Ford GTP car today, and so he will go race driving. David, I know that is terribly exciting for you, but how does it compare with joining Ken Squire in an announce booth?
Well, obviously, sitting alone in the car, you're surrounded by a much higher class of company, but it's more fun in the race car, really. It's great fun to be with Ken in the announce booth, but it's better fun out there on the racetrack.
Ouch. Ken?
No comment.
I hope that late-breaking story is not spoiled by an early-breaking race car. Go get them out there, Hobbs. The cars in the GTP class today, they are a wonder to behold. They cost $250,000, more than 800 horsepower. They run about 190 miles an hour here. These guys are going to be the star of the show. But they have little brothers in this race today. They're called the Camel Light cars. They're smaller, they're lighter, they are less expensive. That's the key to the popularity of the class. The problem for these cars is they're about 40 miles an hour slower than the big cars, and we should have some spectacular traffic jams out there today. Before we leave the air today, we'll meet the winners in both classes in our Eastern Airlines Victory Lane. Come on over here with me as we talk about a competition that is going to put some rich winners' names up here on this board. The True Value Hardware Leader of the Pack Awards. It's a 500-kilometer race at 125 kilometers, 250K, and 375 kilometers. The executive producers, who do not make me rich here today, but will certainly try to make the drivers rich, will put up $500 at each increment to the car that's leading the race. Now, if one car can lead all three, they're really going to start to squirm up there in the truck, because there's a $1,000 bonus if you can lead all three legs and win the race overall. Now, out on the racetrack, we'll be covering the action with two in-car cameras. Up at the head of the field, in the number 67 BF Goodrich Porsche, Whitney Gann's dark horse choice today, will one of our in-car cameras ride, and it'll be with Darren Brassfield and Bob Wallach. Little further back in the field, we're also going to have a second car following the Camel Light activity. Howard Katz and Steve Phillips in their Camel Light car will cover the action in that division. Right now, they're buttoning things up, they're buckling in, they're preparing for a start, and we're going to be back to take a look at the starting lineup right after this timeout.
Ohio, we're ready to take a look at the starting lineup for this great event today before a capacity house. The track has drawn a magnificent crowd today. Here we are in the hills of Lexington, Mansfield, Ohio area, and everyone is enjoying a splendid day. Temperatures will be in the 80s. Could be a little warm in some of those prototype cars, but for this audience, who are so respectful of this place, it's absolutely the cleanest racetrack I've ever been at. Everyone seems to enjoy what Jim Truman put together. Let's now take a look at the starting lineup for the event. In the front row, on the pole, for the third time for Nissan, Jeff Brabham did the job. The Miami winners, Elliott Forbes Robinson and Sydney, Australia's Jeff Brabham. Starting beside them is the man going for 4 straight. 2 other IMSA drivers have done it. We'll tell you more about that later. Al Holbert, the great champion from Pennsylvania, and Chip Robinson driving Hurt today in that Porsche 962. Then in row number 2, third position, take a look at this. Michael Andretti, son of Mario Andretti, and John Andretti, son of Mario's twin brother Aldo, gets an opportunity. They'll ride together. They qualified third in one of the Hendrick Chevrolets. On the outside of that row, here comes the car that could be very strong today. This is Dyson Racing, Bryce Cobb, Jim Weaver, winners at Atlanta earlier this year. Going to row 3, there's the Cyril van der Merwe car and Doc Bundy of Gainesville, Georgia. And alongside, strong favorite in this event, Jochen Moss, the great West German driver, and Bobby Rahal as the field begins to roll out. In row 4, Darren Brassfield and the great French world champion Bob Wallach are there in that Porsche 962 that carries our in-car camera. Alongside is Jim Adams and John Hotchkiss out of California in their Porsche 962. David Hobbs, the great champion of every division you want to name from Great Britain. He's there, and his teammate for this race, Davy Jones out of Portland, New York, in the Roush Racing Mustang. The outside of row 5 is Don Bell and Jeff Klein in the first of the Camel Lights car, currently number 1 of that series. Row 6, Charlie Morgan and Jim Rothbard are there. And in row 7, in the outside of row 6 is Steve Burst and Mike Brockman. Row 7 today, it's Chip Meade and Tim McAdam, alongside Jim Downing and John Mafucci, the great champions of the Light Series. In row 8, Scott Schobert and Linda Ludeman out of Palm Beach, Florida. Also, Brent O'Neill and Keith Rinsler, the Boston University student. In row 9, it's Tom Hessert from New Jersey and Dave Loring, a former winner out of New Hampshire. Our second in-car camera belongs with Howard Katz and Steve Phillips. Katz will be the first driver up on the outside of row 9. In row 10, Bobby Brown and Ken Knott. And also in that row is Alfred Mitchell and Kim Campbell in a Mazda Argo. Row 11 today is John Higgins and Charles Monk. On the outside of that row, it's George Petriliak and Jeff Perner of Glens Falls, New York. In row 12, Lance Jones and Bill Jacobson are ready to do battle. And on the outside of that row, Timmy Miller and Dick Rose. Finally, the last row in the field, we see Dick Lapley of Gate Hills, Ohio, in that beautiful Chevron Cosworth car that he's brought here. Kemper Miller of Rochester, New York, and Gianpiero Moretti of Milan, Italy, complete the field. Circulating around, they'll take a lap and a half. They'll start the cars on the long back straightaway here at about 140 miles per hour. The pace car will leave them off as they come by pit road, which holds 28 automobiles, 26 starters today. Midway down the backstretch, they'll turn them loose. As they come back across the finish line, they will have been credited with a full lap complete. Car number 6 is in trouble. One of the Camel Light cars having a problem here and slowing down, coming to a halt. That's bad news right off at the very top. That was the Rensler people. That's Brent O'Neill, the owner of the car.
No, that's Charles Morgan and Jim Rothbard.
Jim Rothbard's car?
That's correct, driving the Fiero.
Jim Rothbard out of St. Louis, Missouri. And the pace car is coming in. We're set for a start. The car that broke down is off the course. Clear, and we're getting ready to go. Now, these two cars in the front row will establish the pace and the speed at which they'll turn them loose to begin this 129-lap challenge today. The best of road racing here at Mid-Ohio, live 16 camera coverage on the Superstation.
One of the things I like to point out here, Ken, is that the drivers have to be very careful to make sure their tires are warm enough before they really start racing each other right after the green flag. It's very easy to get over-aggressive and make a mistake very early in the race before the tires really get a chance to warm up.
Here they are coming about through the keyhole. Good to start on the back straightaway?
Yes, very good to start at the back straightaway. I think they've chosen that because it's a slower part of the track. They immediately have to slow down for a slow third-gear corner, and I think their terminal velocity is not as much as if they started it on the front straight.
All right, ready for the break and going under green, and we're away. The start at Mid-Ohio. For the green flag, and as they take that flag, Nissan will jump out in front. Scooting down into that first turn, it'll be the Nissan car as they get going, and right into second place, the Corvette, as the Holbert car with Al Holbert aboard falls to third place. Down to the bottom of the hill, around turns 8 and 9. How much speed here?
About 120 miles an hour on this particular section of the track right now. As I said before, the drivers are really just trying to sort themselves out, not make any mistakes before they can really hit the hammer and get racing.
The problem,
Al Holbert just made a super move there to move into second place. Very tough place to pass.
So the Porsche 962 comes up to challenge the Nissan for first place as they round the carousel for the first time. This will officially complete one lap, and Nissan will score lap number 1. Prototype car, well over $1 million invested in this proposition, and those Camel Light cars, they say they're inexpensive. They'll run you about $450,000 for a season as well.
Well, I think we're talking really only a matter of degrees in money here, either a whole bunch of money or a lot of money. You're looking at $1 million a year versus maybe $500,000 a year.
The BFG Goodrich car trying to move its way through the field now from 7th position. Brassfield and Bob Wollick. I believe Wollick has the starting assignment today for car number 67. Long back straightaway, fastest part of the course, as Whitney pointed out. And there's that number 14 going for its 4th win here today. 4 consecutive wins have been scored 2 other times in IMSA racing. Holbert himself did it at Road Atlanta from 1975 through 1977, including 2 races in the 77 season. And then we have 1 car in the pits. That's the Schubert car running in the Camel Light Series. One of the smaller prototype cars. Linda Ludeman, the only woman driver in the field from West Palm Beach, Florida, and Scott Schubert. And we've got one off Big Dust here to the barrier, and that's one of the Chevrolets, I believe.
That is one of the Chevrolets.
Andretti? That 22. It says Andretti.
That is the Andretti car. I think maybe Michael might have gotten a little over-anxious there at the beginning of the race and didn't wait for his tires to warm up enough.
The other 4 consecutive win record is with Peter Gregg. 4 straight at Road Atlanta, 1978, 79, 2 events each year. Let's take a look and see what happened out here that put that 22 into the Toolies this afternoon. John and Michael Andretti in one of the Hendrick cars.
Well, that's the Nissan going through there.
Leader coming through, second place car, Holbert.
Yeah, it just seems to me that Michael just really overcooked it into the corner. Maybe it is possible that Price Cobb in the Dyson car might have tapped him on the way into the corner, but I think it's probably just a case of Michael just being a racer. Being a racer.
A little aggressive. So the Andretti cousins, car number 22, fall back in the GTP class. The overall big machines, which get bigger now with new rules from IMSA, say they can go to 7 liters.
That's 7 liters for the normally aspirated motors.
To try and fend off some of this foreign competition that Porsche, now Nissan, is putting forth, as well as the incredibly powerful cars that Chevrolet team have. Here's Al Holbert trying to close in on the lead automobile, car number 83, staying in front. The driver right now, Sydney, Australia's Jeff Brabham, former top finisher at Indianapolis, Rookie of the Year there once. And Holbert putting some pressure on very early in the going. Of course, with 1 Nissan and a couple of Chevrolets out here, the rabbit in this case is that Nissan. I don't think they want to overcook this car early.
Knowing.
Taking a look at the light competition for just a moment here, and there you see the Bell Klein car, number 01, just in front, with Steve Durst and Mike Brockman in that maroon Pontiac. That's Pontiac running 1-2 in the Camel Light Series.
I'd also like to point out in this battle going on here that in third place is the Fab car Porsche. This car has really come along this year. Last year it really wasn't much of a factor in the Camel Light racing, but now it's a real contender, and they seem to be doing quite well in the opening laps of this race.
That's Meade and McAdam, and they've had a win this season as well. So the top three in the lights are right there bunched together as they go to the top of the course, into a negative camber corner, and down that back straightaway where they'll also reach optimum speed, which for a Camel Light car is what?
Camel Light car is probably hitting about 145, 150 miles an hour down this section of the track.
Good battle for the lead.
Yeah, I think that Durst has it on the inside. Absolutely. I'd be surprised if he can't get by here.
But here comes 01, the Klein car, back on the outside, and the leader in Camel Light racing stays in first.
Boy, they're really racing hard for that corner, especially this time in the race. I would think they'd be wanting to conserve their brakes a little more than they are, but they're out there racing. They know what they're doing.
Smaller prototype cars, beautiful racing machines. The look of tomorrow in automobiles here today at Mid-Ohio, live on the Superstation. Front three still bunched up. Beautiful battle. And the Pontiacs, that four-cylinder engine, there they are side by side. Meanwhile, up in front, trying to draw away and getting about a 15-car length advantage is car number 83. Back with this battle another time, and Durst and Brockman have pulled in front of Jeff Klein's car. Klein now into second position, and the third-place car would remain Tim McAdam. Chip Meade is now driving car number 43 in third, and he is closing on Klein. Good scramble in the lights category. Look at Durst and Brockman's car just pull away. I think they're willing to let him go. He wants to set a far quicker pace than they. Leader already into lap traffic.
Yeah, you have to be real careful at this point in the race with lap traffic. You're lapping up for the first time, and a lot of times they're not aware that you're coming up. It's a very dangerous time, the first time you go around these slower cars.
So, remaining in front for Nissan, car number 83. Sydney, Australia's Jeff Brabham is there. Al Holbert is in second, and it is Bryce Cobb maintaining third. Back with more live from Mid-Ohio in a moment. Nissan, number 83, holding onto that lead and doggedly staying there in second place. Early going, Al Holbert seeking his fourth win in a row here at the Mid-Ohio Road Course, Lexington, Ohio. And already these leaders are moving into the Camel Light cars, running much slower on the track, about a 40-mile-per-hour top speed differential between the GTP, these big prototypes, and the Camel Light cars. Jeff Brabham was asked if that was a problem for drivers of the faster cars.
Yeah, well, it seems like 140. It's kind of a dangerous deal to have, such fast cars and such slow cars out on the track at the same time. But unfortunately, we're in a position where we have to run both classes right now. But it's definitely not fun for us being in the big cars, and I'm sure it's no fun for the guys in the little cars either.
There you see that car that Jeff Brabham is driving, the 3-liter V6 Nissan car, which has scored one victory this season. And right behind him comes Al Holbert, trying to stretch his record of victories to 4 here this afternoon. As matters stand, is Bryce Cobb maintaining the Dyson car in third. Then Cyril Vandermerwe is in fourth. And then in fifth is Bobby Rahal with the Oaken Moss team. And now we're riding with the Howard Cat Steve Phillips car. You're back in a Camel Light car for the first time in IMSA racing. You're seeing it live here on the Superstation. They are running 7th in the Camel Light series, and they are running 15th overall on the field at this time. You can see them trying to sort themselves out and move up. Howard Katz, former Formula 4 driver, and this car, number 73, which is built, maintained, Chevy Tiga in the Sugar Bush area of the state of Vermont. Strange part of the world for a race car to come from that competes in this league. Here he is down the main straightaway, headed for turn number 1 under the bridge, and trying to close in on those 3 runners just in front of him, all running in the same category. Right in front of him is the Hessert car, number 96. And now you're riding with the driver Bob Woolick in the number 67 car, which is 6 overall in the field. Great French driver who has won in the 24 Hours of Daytona, won at Le Mans, won in World Endurance competition. and brought in here specifically to see if they could make that number 67 respond to the victory. They have not won since 1985 at Riverside, California. They've taken a few weeks off to try to get this car, and you're with Bob Wallach now as he peels around the top of this course. There's the negative camber corner into the back straightaway where he'll zip up to how fast?
He's going about 160, 170 now, to about 180 miles an hour. It's right behind my shoe-in for the win here, which was the Ray Hall Moss car.
Interestingly enough, as we watch Bob Wallach move in and make the pass there, he looks like he's out there on a Sunday drive, for one thing. Whitney, you alluded at the top of the show to the fact that Wallach is a tremendous development driver. They have spent the last 5 weeks working full-time on that race car, dialing it in for this event today. They want to win this one, and they have some added incentive, something called the Camel Pyramid. It pays $10,000 every time a new car wins the race, and they've been writing a check every week because we've had, as we said, not only 6 different winning teams this year, but in fact 7 different cars that have won races. The Holbert team won 2, but they did it in 2 different cars. Wallach is one of the favorites to take that 10 grand here today. This team has not yet won a race. They feel today may be their best shot, and the way he disposed of Bobby Rahal, they definitely are headed for the front.
10 laps will be complete this time around with a 129 to be run as you see the 2 leaders, and Al Holbert just hangs on, perched on the back of the Nissan number 83 as he floats through lap traffic and stays there waiting on that Nissan. Oh, look at this up against that back marker. Lap car, we don't mean to say back marker because these lights are tried in their own class just as hard as the prototypes are, but you can see the driver of the lead car really have to get on the binders and not overrun himself into that slower car.
Well, I think maybe Jeff just misjudged that a little bit because it seemed to me that the light driver maintained his line, which is what they're supposed to do. He seemed to do a good job. I think Jeff was just a little confused.
Let's go to Bob Barsham.
Well, at the top of the show, we saw the accident a little over a month ago at Riverside, California that gave Elliott Forbes Robinson a broken shoulder. Elliott, the question is, how are you feeling?
I feel great. I can't wait to get in the car. The car is running super, and if Jeff can turn it back in the position he's in right now, I'd be real happy.
The car is extremely fast. Jeff is driving very aggressively out there. Do you guys have a plan to go out and just try and hold the lead all day long?
Well, we've got to stay with Holbert because we know that Holbert's going to be the toughest one to beat here. And if he can stay right with him and then I can get out and stay with Chip when he's in the car, then we'll be in great shape because the race will be won in the last hour of the race.
We'll be watching for it. Thank you, Elliott. Let's get back to the action.
$300,000 cars and no air conditioner. They're using cool suits for the most part in these machines. And Elliott was telling me that that car, he believes, is the coolest machine, not only in sleekness and in looks, but literally in the driver comfort of the car. And he says much cooler than a 962. Well, we're in the B.F. Goodrich car once again. Bob Wallach's car swings down to the inside and puts a lap on the Howard Katz number 73 car. Now let's go back to that number 73 who was just passed by the car on the inside, the number 67, and you can see the tremendous distance those big prototypes put on them. Hardest braking on the corner is right here, turn 6. They really struggle on the binders. This is right, we're in an International Race of Champions event. Bobby Rahal and Mario Andretti had a little sniff a year back. Bottom of the racetrack, there's really a lot of altitude here. It drops right out from underneath you.
Well, yeah, this is a tricky part of the track. Anytime you come to a track with a lot of elevation change, it's very difficult to drive and keep the car stable on the track. When the track falls away from you, the car wants to get loose.
And now you see the number 86 closing on the Downing Mafucci car. That number 63, the red car, is the Mazda that Jim Downing has driven to victory in 85 and 86. There it is in the Camel Light Series. Meanwhile, the number 86 is maintaining 6th position. Bobby Rahal, 1986 Indianapolis 500-mile champion, who has more miles on this track than probably any other competitor, stays in the car.
Here in Central Ohio for a fascinating afternoon of motorsports. It's Camel Grand Prix competition, and at this juncture, early in the event, Jeff Brabham looks like he wants to make it a runaway and go all the way to our Valvoline mid-race recap. leading every lap of the event. He has set a blistering pace, over 101 miles an hour, but tacked right onto his rear deck, the old veteran Al Holbert, who's semi-retired now. Semi-retired. Every race he started this year, he's finished either first or second. Back here in third, Bryce Cobb, young Charger, guy who loves to drive hard, likes to pitch him sideways. He's closing from 9 seconds back. It's a tight battle up front. Calling the action today, Ken Squire.
In the lead, it is number 83, Jeff Robham. The Nissan stays in front, but right there in second place is that number 14, Al Holbert, 48 wins in IMSA, that great champion for the United States, closing ever closer now. He was able to just hold up there for a while. Now you see he's cut it down to 1 car length. It was 8 or 9 here just 2 laps ago. Called it 2 car lengths at this point. But he definitely has Jeff Robham right where he wants him at this point. It's a matter of, do you want to use up your car early or show patience? That's the question in these kind of races.
Well, Ken, I would like to point out that I put a clock on these cars the last few laps, and I am personally amazed how hard they really are running at this juncture of the race. The last couple times I've timed them going around the track, they've only been maybe 2-3 seconds slower than their qualifying times. Their qualifying times were done with an empty track. Now they're in traffic, and they're going extremely fast for this point in the race.
Last lap was 100.8 mile per hour average, around 15 turns on this 2.4 mile track. These 2 cars averaging 100.8, locked nose to tail. Nissan, Japanese car up in that front running position, and the German Porsche right there in second place, the 962 with Warrington, Pennsylvania's Al Holbert nipping away on the heels of the Australian driver, Jeff Robham. Third spot remains just a few seconds back, Bryce Cobb. David had it as 9. Meanwhile, Holbert seems to be the man to watch at this moment, standing by to get in that car, Chip Robinson, shortly. What does it take to win at Mid-Ohio? Al Holbert says a heavy right foot is not enough.
More than anything, I think it's attitude. It requires an immense amount of concentration from the minute you get here till the minute the checker falls. Because of the traffic on the racetrack, you have to have patience, and that takes a lot of concentration. And the car changes, and it does here. This track changes. You can easily get over the speed bumps, and this track can destroy a car pretty quickly. And as far as having the stamina to go fast time lap after lap and keep putting them together, you just have to keep willing it, keep saying you're going to do it. And I think that's what I try to, more than any place, keep my guys on before we even get here.
Al Holbert, one of the great team managers and certainly one of America's finest drivers in this form of racing. Live here on the Superstation, you're watching as Holbert keeps in sight Jeff Robham, the Australian driver, car number 83, spends most of his time in the United States these days, but Australia takes great pride in the fact that he's one of theirs. Here they are, coming around the number 23 car, Petrolak car, out of New York. Buick Argo there for just a moment, getting the limelight. Let's go to Chris Economack.
Well, the pits are supposed to be a place for a moment of rest and sustenance for the drivers in today's race, but in reality, the pit can be a pressure point, because in many of the pits, Nissan, Chevrolet, Porsche, Ford, Pontiac, there are representatives from the factory with public relations men and advertising agency people standing by to make the most of a possible victory. Even in the lights, the Mazda, Buick people are hoping for something to blow their horn about when it's all over. And then, of course, there's the hidden battle, the battle for tire supremacy. Bridgestone currently out front, Goodyear, BF Goodrich, and Firestone all out here hoping to have something to cheer about when it's all over. The pressure is really on. Now back to you.
The early cheering is for Nissan, staying in front, seeking their second win of the year. Winners at Miami. They skipped the 24 hours of Daytona, went for the shorter race at Miami, through the streets there, and were successful. That terrible crash at Riverside brought out a new tub, and that's what you see here racing today. Now you're back in the BF Goodrich car with Bob Wollek, the number 67, in fifth, having passed the Bobby Rahal, number 86. Bob Wollek trying to close ever more on now the number 52 car. Good struggle beginning to develop for fourth place.
Ken, one of the things that the BF Goodrich guys told me before this race started, one of the great places where they made a breakthrough in their tires are their consistency. The tires they had before were going off after just a few laps. They did some testing, found that the tires were being very good for at least 30 laps, and they thought the race would come back to them. And that the faster cars would wear their tires out first, and this appears to be what's happening.
Wendy, while the BFG guys have confidence in their tires here today, the car just in front of them, the Corvette of Sarl Vandermerve, and that team very optimistic about another element of the mechanical combination. They like the new electronic fuel management system that they think might be the key to victory for that Corvette. It is a gas guzzler. That powerful turbo V6 uses a tremendous amount of fuel, and it cost them the victory at Laguna Seca earlier this year. They were going to win that race, had to stop late in the race for a dash of fuel, and it cost them the victory. And so what they've done is go from the mechanical fuel management to the more sophisticated electronic fuel management system. Essentially, a computer controls the turbocharger and the intake of fuel into the engine. They hope that it's going to run more conservatively on fuel today. They anticipate, their strategy is that they will make 2 pit stops. They feel that everyone in the field will have to make 2 pit stops, and thus they start the event on level ground. That car has tremendous horsepower. When you watch from the in-car camera and they run down the straightaway, he gains a lot of ground on Bob Wallach. Here's Wallach coming up the inside and challenging. That fuel management system may be the victory, the key to victory for the Corvette today if they can win it.
Dave, they have been working here over the past several days, and they're up to about 3 miles per gallon at the present time. And there's car number 73, I believe. That would be Howard Katz with that second in-car camera in the light series having some trouble and pulling off the course.
All I can say, Ken, is it must be something fairly terminal. If the car is able to roll, they usually try to limp him back to the pits, but he seems to be having a terminal problem.
Look at this battle for second place in the lights. It's 11th and 12th overall. That's the Don Bell, Jeff Klein car trying to hold off Chip Meade and Tim McAdams' car. Meade now at the controls. That is the battle for the lead in the lights. The smaller prototype cars having a good go for it this afternoon. On pit road, problems developing. Car number 9 is in. It looks to be in a bit of trouble out here. Smoke pouring from beneath that car, the Jones-Jacobson car.
They've apparently had some sort of pit fire, maybe during refueling. Some fuel spilled into the engine bay. That's a common problem when you refuel. You usually end up with a pit fire if it's not done carefully.
The Pontiac Fiero, number 01, and that is Bell driving the car, not flying for the start of the event, being challenged here by the Fab car, the Porsche machine, right beside, right almost underneath him here, as they wheel around, turns 13, 14, come up for the carousel, very shortly be back to the start-finish line area of this 2.4-mile course. It's live today here on the Superstation, WTBS.
That's a really interesting battle between brands here. We've talked so much about the engines and chassis combinations that are warring in both classes, GTP and GT Light. The Pontiacs have just been killing them in the GT Light class this year. Everybody says they're hands down to win the race today. But that's a Porsche-powered Fab car running in second spot, and it's obvious to me that Chip Meade, who's an excellent race driver, and his teammate Charlie Monk have no intention at all of letting that Pontiac run away early. They want to keep the pressure on and force a problem here in the early going for the car that has been the dominant force in the light division, that Pontiac 01 of Don Bell.
They split that team, David, and they put McAdam in with me today, and they moved Monk into the 42 car so that they could get a little better draw on their team, have a little more experience all across the board of the 2 cars, and it's sure working for them right now. Back with the leaders, and there you see Jeff Brabham staying in front with Al Holbert maintaining second place. Price Cobb and his 962 is third, and then the Chevrolet runs in fourth. More live from Mid-Ohio shortly.
We couldn't ask for a nicer day or a nicer place to bring you a race live on TBS Sports. Mid-Ohio sports car, of course. And here's what it looks like at 180 miles an hour as Bob Wallach has brought his Porsche up into 4th spot, and he is charging. 20 laps are complete, working 21 of 129 that make up the race distance here today, and 2 great battles. Up front, Jeff Brabham and Al Holbert have never been more than 10, perhaps 12 car lengths apart for the entire 20 laps run thus far. Further downfield, in the Camel Light battle, we have Chip Meade and Don Bell racing for 11th and 12th overall, but first in class, and that's just as good a battle between the Pontiac and the Porsche. A long way to go here, a great show, and not all the action is on the racetrack. We're going to have a lot more here from the STP Pit Communications Center, but right now, let's get back to Ken Squire.
The battle continues up in front as the 83 continues to slug it out with the 14 car, and the Ford is now just pulling onto pit road directly across from us. The David Hobbs car, which has been running in 9th position, now in there some 10 seconds. And let's see if there is a driver change. You see Davy Jones standing by. I don't think he's ready to get in. It would be premature.
They obviously have some sort of mechanical engine problem with that car right now.
Biggest engine in the field, and something is amiss on that normally aspirated car. Here is Holbert really closing up on the Nissan. The number 14 of Al Holbert back on number 83, Sydney, Australia's Jeff Brabham.
One story on that car in the pits. The problem there may be related to the fact that they blew up their race engine on the dynamometer getting ready to come into this event. They had to rebuild it over in the grass here behind the paddock area, and they have just rejoined the event here, hoping that that is not a terminal problem.
David Hobbs was in the pits for 44 seconds. Wherever there's competition, there is controversy over the little technical matters. And such was the case with the Kodak copier competition that is run on each IMSA weekend. They allow 2 of these top teams to come out here and see which of the teams can be the fastest. Yes, it's for pride, but it's also for big bucks, some $50,000. This was yesterday, and here you see the Camel Light entry, car that's running so well today. Steve Durst and Mike Brockman making the stop. They have to change drivers just as they would in a race, take 15 seconds for fuel, and there you see the odds-on favorite, the big Chevrolet, the Rick Hendrick car. Cyril Vandermerver there wheeling around the car and quickly out. No question, he has won the event. Wrong. 6 men working on car number 52. Who's the culprit? The man in the air, jumping right there. Cyril Vandermerver cleaning off the windshield, disqualified, and the winner was the Camel Light entry yesterday. How about that? Back to the race, and here's number 83 and 14 still locked in their war. Meanwhile, in the 3rd spot is car number 16 and the Dyson car with Price Cobb at the controls. One car slowing, that is the number 10 getting in trouble. That is Jim Adams, John Hotchkiss car coming down. The number 10 car had been running in 8th position, and it's trying to get back. It looks like it has some damage up on the nose.
Well, actually, I think those are just what we aerodynamic devices call splitters, which give the nose a little more downforce.
But isn't the one on the right slightly bent, askew?
No, it looks pretty good to me. I think he's had some sort of problem other than sliding off the track by a mistake.
I wonder if he collected one of those new curves.
Well, those curves are certainly going to present a problem. The guys run over them this week, and they're going to tear their cars up, as they found out in practice.
So the number 10 car trying to get back to the pit area, and Jim Adam is currently at the controls of that car and falling back. The car that is on the move is the B.F. Goodrich number 67, which is up to 4th. It has passed the Hendrick Corvette being driven by Cyril Vandermerver and has taken 4th place, closing now on Price Cobb in the 16, the Dyson car. Let's go to Chris Economac.
I'm standing down here with car owner Rick Hendrick, who has the 2 Mr. Goodwrench cars in the race. You're quite a sportsman, Rick. You've raced boats and you've done a drag racing stint yourself. You got 2 sports cars in the race and 3 stock cars. Which form of the sport do you like the best?
I like them all. There's parts of each one I like, Chris. I guess I like road racing. I like to drive in road racing. I like to watch the Grand National cars run. I like it all. I guess if you're a racer, you enjoy all of it.
Rick, your stock cars have really been in the news. Tim Richmond fell ill and you had to replace him with a driver. Then Jeff Bodine got in some trouble for some on-track incidents. But everybody's wondering about the rumors that you and Darrell Waltrip may split. Well, you have any comments on that?
No, Darrell and I, everything is fine with our team. It's a new team, and you go through those problems when you get started, but Darrell and Waddell and I spend a lot of time talking about the situation and how we can improve it. I think you'll see that car doing much better in the weeks to come, and we're happy, and we've got a lot of room for improvement, but that's a new team. But last year, Tim Richmond, it took him half of the season to get started, and he won more races than anyone. So we're looking forward to this next 4 races and out to Riverside, and we're excited about the rest of the year. We're just going to work hard to make it happen, but there are no plans for anything to happen there right now.
Okay, thanks very much, Rick Hendrick. And now let's go down pit road to my colleague, Bob Varsha.
Thank you, Chris. The Ford Mustang GTP is suddenly back in the pits with Davy Jones at the control. Jack Roush is in charge of that big GTP effort. Jack, what's the problem?
Well, we seem to have a cooling system difficulty.
checked the engine and the car over real close last night. Everything looked normal, but it's lost its water here this morning, and we're just not sure what's happened. We may have a hose or we may have a radiator that has a problem. The Applecon Ford Mustang has worked very well in practice, and we were really hopeful of a good result here today, but looks like we may have to wait for another day.
You guys have gone through a couple of engines here. Tell me a little bit about that struggle.
Well, we really only ran one engine, and we took it apart last night and checked it over. There wasn't a difficulty with it. The engine that we had planned to use as a spare was damaged on dynamometer on Thursday night. And with that, we had to repair this engine. So I'm not sure what's happened, but this 7-liter engine combination looks real good for the Ford, and we're hopeful to get it back.
Okay, well, it looks like a long day at this point, but Davy Jones may be back in action soon. Let's get back to the racetrack.
Let's see, it appears they may be pushing that car off as Bob Wallach continues to work in car number 67, the Porsche 962. That's coming up through the field. Whitney took him as a dark horse choice to win it all today. Here's Wallach at the controls, easing that car around through a high-speed turn, shifting here, and trying to close in on the third-place man, Price Cobb, in the Dyson Porsche 962. The VF Goodrich car, maintaining 4th position, 5 weeks off, losing a little weight off the machine. They put it on a diet, and meanwhile, up in front, there's the 83 with Jeff Brabham, Elliott Forbes Robinson waiting to take over. In the second spot is Al Holbert. Last lap at 103 miles per hour on that leader. Jeff Brabham stays in front. Can he stay there? Back in a moment. There's the Dyson car running in 3rd spot. Price Cobb, winner at Road Atlanta. Leading this man, Bob Wallach, in the 67 by the interval you see right here. It had been about 2 2/10 seconds, and that has really been pared down. Less than a second now between the 3rd and 4th place cars in the Grand Prix of Mid-Ohio, live here today on the Superstation. Whitney Gantz.
Ken, I've been watching Price drive here the last few laps, and he's definitely feeling the pressure from Bob Wallach. Well, now Wallach's right on his rear end. The car Price has been driving has been getting very sideways. He's really trying hard, and I've been watching Wallach too, and he's driving nice and smooth, and I think his VF Goodrich tires are finally coming into play.
Here we are in that long straightaway, getting around 2 of the Camel Light cars, full speed, hard braking coming up. Let's see what Wallach will do. Right down at the bottom, swings to the outside, and tries for a pass.
That is a tremendous move there. You've got to take your hat off to Wallach there. A lot of guts to attempt it and a lot of talent to finish off that pass. That was a tremendous, tough pass.
Frenchman Bob Wallach has just put the VF Goodrich number 67 into 3rd place, and you went along for the ride. Price Cobb is now 4th. Cyril van der Merwe with a Chevrolet is in 5th. Bobby Rahal is in 6th. Michael and John Andretti 7th. And then the first of the Camel Light cars, Durst and Brockman in the Pontiac, are running 8th. Don Bell and Jeff Klein are running 9th. Chip Meade, Tim McAdam overall in 10th. Jim Downing and John Mapucci in 11th. Bob Wallach, the great French driver here in number 67. Some drivers feel the Mid-Ohio track is too narrow. Hard-charging Bob Wallach doesn't share that view.
Well, it's narrow, but there are plenty of spots where you can overtake cars, you know. At the end of the straightaway into slow corners, I mean, it's a good place. Much better than other places, because usually overtaking is a problem everywhere, but I think it's quite easy here.
And he nailed him right where he said was the place to overtake, at the end of that long straightaway. Notice in the pavement, up there in that keyhole, the difference in the color. There's some asphalt they put in there a year ago, and yesterday afternoon, late around 7:30, Whitney and I are out for a ride, and on our little golf cart, we discovered the crew here adding cement, that quick-dry cement, because that corner had begun to tear.
Well, I think if the temperature gets much hotter today, with the pounding that these GTP cars put down on the pavement with all their horsepower, that track could begin to break apart. And if it does, it's like driving on ice. Oh, Wallach is really trying here. We'll have to get a lap time on it and see if he's catching the leaders.
Let's go to Chris Economac.
Well, I'm sitting down here in a park-like atmosphere with Mario Andretti. He's taking it easy today, but he's got a deep interest in the competition because his son Michael is out there in one of the Mr. Goodwrench cars. When Michael stops to get fuel, he's going to get out of the car, and Mario's nephew John, son of his brother Aldo, will get in to drive. Mario, it's a lot different for the youngsters today than when you started, isn't it?
Well, the only difference that I can see, they have cool suits in there.
Yeah, but think about the opportunities, Mario, that what Michael didn't have to go through, the Dusty Nazareth half-mile dirt track. Did you ever go to driving school?
No, I guess, as you say, times were different, of course, and I think it's great that they have these opportunities. Let's face it, that's the least that I can provide, I think, from my standpoint. I think because maybe I can, as you might think, pave the way to some extent, but then the job they still have to do themselves. They still have to stand on their own 2 feet, and the merit sooner or later will be what's going to determine the future of their career anyway. So when it comes down to that point, there's no difference.
Well, I know that, but Mario, how long did it take for somebody to know the name Mario Andretti after you started? All those three-quarter midgets and jalopies and broken down sprint cars and so forth. And Michael and John's career, people know those names, somewhat because of your experience, but mostly because of their own achievements early in their career.
Well, again, like I said, it's fine that they were able to sort of come in maybe better prepared with better equipment and be much more advanced at a specific age. Sure, I look at Michael today versus where I was at the same time in my life. He's light years ahead of where I was. And maybe by the time he reaches my age, maybe he won't want to have any part of it. Or maybe will. I don't know. I guess each career span is going to be different anyway. And as I say, I think it's wonderful to see that the kids have those opportunities that we didn't have.
Well, that's great, Mario. We thank you for taking time to chat with us. Back to you, Ken Squire.
The most versatile driver in the history of motorsport for my nickel, Mario Andretti, looking on, and you saw his son. That was Michael Andretti passing the Cyril van der Merwe car, which is now on pit road, and they've made their driver change tires.
Ken, I'd like to point out right here, one of the reasons the vet might be stopping. One, either their new fuel injection is not working very well and they're not getting the mileage that they expected. Or two, possibly the cool suit on Cyril's car broke because he made a driver change fairly early into the race at lap 30. Perhaps he just overheated himself and needed a driver change there.
The doctor takes over. Doc Bundy out of Atlanta, Georgia, now in car number 52 as it comes back on the track. Meanwhile, Bob Wallach continues to close on the 2 leaders. We'll be tracking that 2 value countdown for big bucks here this afternoon when we return to Mid-Ohio on our live coverage of the Grand Prix on Superstation WTBS.
Car that everybody in this field feared a little bit here today. Jeff Brabham's machine, come with me. This race is now at the 125-kilometer mark, 125 of 500, and that means it's time to reward the true value leader of the pack. Jeff Brabham has led every lap of this race. That's good for a $500 bonus from the true value people. The way he's running today, he looks like he wants to lead at 250 clicks at 375 and in fact win the race. And if he does that, I got to tell you, the people who pay me are squirming up there. We're going to try to give away an extra $1,000 of the executive producer's money here today. $500 to Jeff Brabham, the first true value leader of the pack. Let's get back to the action with Ken Squire.
Spain sounds like he really likes his job today with you.
Yeah, he sure does. He must be pocketing some of that on the side.
Oh, my heart. All right, let's take a look at the light standings right now as we get down to 43 laps complete in the event. Correction, 34 laps complete in the event. Let's take a look at the standings in Camel Light. Brockman 09 at Pontiac there, then Chip Meads. Porsche is in second place. Don Bell's Pontiac is in third. Jim Downing in the Mazda in fourth. And David Loring, who has a win this season, is fifth. That's in the Camel Light category of competition. And there's the leader, Mike Brockman, in that beautiful Spice Engineering, number 09. Klein and Bell have been the predominant name in light racing this year to turn around here as the Jiffy Lube car continues to draw a bead on first place. Those Spice cars have really livened things up in Camel Light category racing this year.
Well, that's for sure. It's really a shot in the arm for the Camel Light division. Before this year, the Mazdas seem to have a real stranglehold on the whole series, especially in the form of Jim Downing. But now these new Fieros, a Spice chassis, a Fiero Pontiac motor, have really dominated.
Jim Downing, one of the master drivers of America, who dedicated himself to this series, and it certainly helped the International Motorsports Association. For instead of having 9, maybe 15 of those big prototypes, now you have fields from 22 up to 30 cars.
Sure, and that's one person we cannot overlook in this race. Jim Downing is a superb tactician, and he's a superb race driver and car preparer. He may not sometimes be the fastest guy out there, but he possibly could be the smartest guy out there, and he wins races because he is smart.
I believe on pit road we have both of the Corvettes, so there's something truly amiss on number 52. There you see the Andretti cousins changing, and number 52 came in at the same time. Well, 22 was making its driver change, and they're moving 52 out, trying to give room here to the 22 car.
I think you're exactly right. I think they're trying to shove 52 out of the way. It must have some sort of trouble. Car 22 has come in on lap 35, which means it's not getting very good fuel mileage. They expected the car to go 38 laps.
As we understand, this was a call directly from the factory to bring both Chevrolets to this race. We haven't seen 2 Chevrolets previously, and here they are. And there you see Michael Andretti, who has just been relieved by John Andretti. They're pushing his car to get it fired and out of there. John Andretti, who won the USAC Midget Championship a couple of years ago. Likeable guy, just like Michael, but the 22 is coming very slowly and is not firing.
Boy, I know how John feels right now. He must be just dying in there. Obviously, his starter motor is having a problem. The solenoid might be overheated.
Have you had this happen?
Oh, yeah, lots of times. And at about this point, you're about ready to tear the steering wheel right off the column. You're so frustrated. He's obviously having some sort of problem. I'm sure the car is real hot right now. Very hard to get started.
And as you saw, the number 52 was pushed back on the track. That has gone back around again as they focus on this car. That's the problem sometimes with having 2 cars when you're used to having just one to cater to.
Absolutely. It's a lot harder working at close quarters, and I think you might see 52 come right back in unless they keep him out on the track. Obviously, he has some sort of problem, but I think he's staying out there to be out of the way while they work on car 22.
And he is just in front of the Nissan number 83, but not the way he'd like to be. Tail down, 1 lap in arrears if number 83 moves by at this juncture of the race.
Well, I think when they get to a straightaway, we'll see how well car number 52 is running. If the Nissan is able to go by it quickly, it obviously has a problem.
Here's Chris.
Okay, I'm down here. Michael Andretti, you look a little hot, and you're not smiling. How's the car?
It started missing about halfway through my run and made things a lot more difficult. And also the tires have been going off all the way through the run, so it was a lot of work. But now I don't know what's wrong. The car won't start in the pits.
What was that miscue early, Michael?
Well, I guess I stood on it too early. The tires weren't warm enough, and the car was really loose at the beginning of the race, and it just got away from me.
Okay, better luck next time. Michael Andretti, and not a happy driver. Back to you, Ken.
The Hessert car being lapped by Jeff Robham in the number 83 Nissan that stays out in front. They sat on the pole, and they won at Miami. They're trying to duplicate that feat here at the most beautiful road racing course in America, the Mid-Ohio Grand Prix on the Superstation Live, and the drama continues around the Chevrolet team. The Rick Hendrick cars are having their problems at this point. The number 22 car being overlooked by the crew.
Well, they did switch some electronic gear in that car right before the race. The team wasn't real happy about doing it, but they needed to do it. And I think now, unfortunately, maybe it was the wrong move because they are having troubles. Both cars are having troubles.
Bad break for a guy that everybody likes in motorsports, Rick Hendrick, who came here to see those 2 cars.
Yeah,
Rothbard looking a little tuckered there.
I think people here get an idea of how hot it really is out there. It's a tremendously difficult track to drive physically on the driver, and if your cool suit isn't working or you aren't wearing one, you'll be pooped real quick, and I think Jim's face shows how tired he really is.
Dehydration factor, how much can you lose here?
Oh, you probably can lose 8 to 10 pounds in an hour's worth of driving on this track. There's 15 corners here, and they're all fairly tight, so you really have to work the car to go fast.
How many shifts per lap?
I tried counting that up the other day, around 40, I figure, so you're probably shifting every 2 or 3 seconds.
Back with Bob Rolick, running in 3rd spot on the BF Goodrich, number 67. They have saved up for this race at Mid-Ohio. They have brought Rolick here from France to see if they can do any business on those other 962s, the Nissan, the Chevrolets, the Fords, and it looks like they have it pretty well put together. Jim Busby's team looking strong here as they continue to close now on the Al Holbert Chip Robinson car in 2nd position.
As I said before, those tires that they've done a lot of testing on, they feel the consistency of the tire is much better. In other words, the tire will last longer for each stint, and they hope the race will come back to them, which I think is what's happening.
38 laps are now completed, the 129 of Iran, and this car goes for its second win of 1987 in our live coverage from Mid-Ohio. More shortly.
We're back at Mid-Ohio, the Mid-Ohio Grand Prix, moving toward the halfway mark here. Let's review this action in the Camel Light division. The Pontiac of Durst and Brockman still out front. Chip Meade has moved into the number 43 car, replacing Higgins. And the Meade-McAdam combination in the Porsche-powered Fab car now in second place. It's kind of an interesting team. 2 cars, 4 drivers. They're all presidents of companies. They are truly gentlemen racers. And Bob Varsha took the opportunity to meet this team of true sportsman drivers. Bob?
John Higgins is president of an Ohio auto dealership. Tim McAdam is president of a Connecticut auto cleaning business. Chip Meade is president of a Georgia real estate development firm. And Charlie Monk is a doctor. Well, majority rules, so collectively they are the presidential racers. But don't let the fast lane luxury of their trackside motor coach fool you.
We are serious about this sport. I mean, we don't invest this kind of time and money just to play. It seems we're a lighthearted approach to it, but when it comes down to a race, we're there and we're serious.
But racing must not be confused with qualifying to race. Let John recall Memorial Day at Lime Rock, Connecticut.
Well, they do a single car qualifying here at IMSA, which generally is just the GTP and the faster cars, and it sometimes improve their time because it gives you time on the track alone versus with the other competitors. They unfortunately scheduled it at Lime Rock late in the afternoon, which just absolutely destroyed a good tee time we had at the country club. And priorities are priorities, and I mean, let's be serious. So we couldn't make it back in time. So this week we brought the Ferrari up. So if we get stranded on the course, it's not that long a trip to get back to the motorsports facility here at Mid-Ohio.
They want to be very careful going to and from the course. The Lexington Police Department are having a field day up and down the road here, as we discovered yesterday. Here's car number 83. That is the Jeff Brabham car, still maintaining first place, and now by a bigger margin than he has at any time since the race began. Second place car, Al Holbert, playing a waiting game. Been kind of a tortoise and hare affair thus far in this contest.
Absolutely. Although I am kind of surprised that Nissan is doing as well as it's been doing, because they really set that car up. That car was engineered around the radial tires, and it's using the old bias ply tires, and apparently they're working really well.
And Brabham is such a good driver.
Absolutely. I can't think of a better road racing driver right now than Jeff Brabham.
Very quiet, very similar to his dad in that manner. Certainly can get the job done.
He sure can. He proved that in the Can-Am. He's proved that in road racing and Indy cars, and he's proved that at Miami earlier on this year, and today he's proving it here.
Son of a world champion, Jeff Brabham from Australia, continuing to show the way for Nissan with Al Holbert from Warrington, Pennsylvania, maintaining second. Here he is, and you see just how much that interval has developed between those two leaders. Meanwhile, back in the third position lies the number 67. Whitney Gantz's choice is the dark horse, pulling off here today.
Well, it would certainly be an upset if they did it, but so far they're running well. Third place is awfully good at this point in the race. There's 2 pit stops to go, a foul pit stop, certainly not either Al Holbert or the 83 car right out of the top 2 positions, and put 67 in the top 3.
Elliott Forbes Robinson is standing right by now, Whitney, with our own Bob Varsha.
Well, Ken, you're having about as much luck as I am today with names. Not Elliott Forbes Robinson, but Chip Robinson, who will be stepping in for Al Holbert. Chip, you were among some of the walking wounded at the top of the race. First, tell us about your condition. You're going to get into a heck of a scrap here. Are you up to it?
Yeah, I think I'm in great shape now. Thursday I had some real bad neck pains, and Friday they continued, and even yesterday. But I have my trainer and come out, and he worked on me, and it really feels much better now. It feels good.
How about the race? Is Al maintaining the pace he wants? We know the Nissan is so very fast. You guys perhaps don't have the horsepower that they do, but Al is staying right in the middle of it.
Well, he's doing a great job. I'm very, very encouraged, you know, and when I get in it, I don't know if there's a tire change that has to be made because of a grip problem or anything. He's going to let him know. So I can go out with a different tire combination, but I think we'll be in good shape.
Okay, Chip Robinson standing by. In about 8 laps, he'll be ready to get in for Al Holbert in the second place car.
And that pinched nerve is really bothersome. He has trouble getting any movement to the right in his neck and down his shoulder, and they say a lot of that can be pure stress. I was talking to his doctor this morning. He's better. He went out and ran 3 or 4 miles. He loves to run, but it's going to be a problem out here in this race.
Well, one of the things about the road race track, you want as good a vision to the right and to the left as possible, since all the turns are different. And also the G-loading in the corners. Every time you go around one of these corners, these cars, their handling is so good that it puts tremendous loading on your neck. So I think Chip will know fairly early on in the stint if he's going to be able to finish his whole stint. It's going to really give his neck a workout, that's for sure.
I think we'll see Holbert doing a lot more work today. They talked briefly yesterday about keeping Derek Bell here. He ran in the International Race of Champions yesterday, and he had to get to Le Mans, and they let him go. And he's a good friend of Holbert's and would have stayed if they thought necessary. He went back to Europe. We'll be back with more of the Mid-Ohio Grand Prix here on the Superstation as we ride with Bob Woolek around this 2.4-mile track shortly.
CarQuest Auto Parts stores salute the professional mechanic. He does a job once, does it right. He makes a promise on service and repairs. He keeps it. He's a professional. He depends on other professionals like CarQuest. We know our parts.
Experienced the driver change. Jeff Robham stepping out. Elliott Forbes Robinson has taken over in car number 83. And let's take a look at how they made this driver change. Robham really getting some assistance out of Elliott. Well, I think just moments ago.
I think that assistance might have actually slowed Brabham down. It's awfully hard to get out of a car with somebody tugging on you. But I guess maybe he thought it speeded it up.
They kid each other a lot.
Well, you have to in racing. If you don't have a sense of humor, you're doomed.
Robham was saying yesterday, he said, well, I very much want to win this car if Elliott would just give me the opportunity.
I mean, he's earned the name of Seahawk, huh?
Here's Elliott Forbes Robinson, car number 83, now in second place, and Al Holbert in the 14 is taken first. There in Brassfield, Bob Woolek's team is up to third, and the Jochen Mass Bobby Rahal car, there it is in fourth place. Rahal lying fourth. This was a car you said to be right up in front.
Well, these guys are awfully smart. Bobby Rahal and Jochen Mass have won lots of races. They might have set themselves a little slower pace, and we can't forget, there's 2 hours left in this race. This is an endurance event. The drivers have to conserve the tires, they have to conserve the brakes, and they have to conserve themselves. So although they're only in fourth place right now, they actually might be running the smartest race.
Whitney, Bobby Rahal says that Porsche is the car to beat in IMSA, and he's fond of his Porsche in particular.
Well, he certainly has a good one.
I don't think he can beat a Porsche in an endurance race. It's that simple. And certainly I've been in other manufacturers that tried to beat Porsche, and it's tough. And so when you are in a Porsche, and especially the Bayside car, Bruce Levin's car, I think it's, if not the best, certainly the top 2 Porsches out there. You're excited because you know that any race you go to, you've got a very real chance of winning it.
Showing 47 laps now complete. Fourth place car is this number 86, Bobby Rahal. Very successful driver here at Mid-Ohio. Knows it as well as any track. Knows it as well as finding his way around his house in the dark. He's driven here so long.
Well, certainly his mentor, Jim Truman, has helped him out with winning on this track all the time. Jim Truman took over this track, turned it into the wonderful facility it is now, but that also enabled Bobby, his IndyCar driver for years, to test on this track really whenever he wanted to.
Here he is in fourth place. Jochen Mass getting ready to assume the driving duties on this car. Former Formula One star. And just about as dependable a shoe as you can bring over from Europe.
Absolutely. I don't think I've ever seen Jochen Mass make a mistake in a race car. He's a super driver, super intelligent.
Ooh, a little fire out of the back of car number 86 up on the top of the keyhole there.
Well, I don't think that's really anything to be concerned about. Maybe just a little backfire when he downshifted the car. That's pretty typical in all Porsches and really in all turbocharged cars.
Here's the leader, number 14, Al Holbert. And remember that they are seeking their 4th straight win. And that will equal their record, which they established at Road Atlanta, and also equal the record of the late Peter Gregg back in 78 and 79 for 4 straight on the same track.
Right now, we're running on lap 48, and I think at any time now, the next 2 laps, the top 3 running cars right now, all 3 Porsches will make their first pit stop. So get ready for the first pit stops of the top 3 cars.
Here's Al Holbert, man leading, and let's go to the pits. Bob Barsher standing by with a man who just stepped out of what had been the lead car. Bob?
Well, Jeff Brabham watches as Elliott Forbes Robinson takes the Nissan by. Jeff, you are as soaked as any driver that's gotten out of a car yet. It must be awfully warm out there.
Well, it is. It's Mid-Ohio is very physically a very demanding racetrack, and we're running up front. You're running as hard as you can, and I was glad when it was my turn to come in.
You're used to the open Indy cars. Now you got a roof over your head. Is that more of a problem, perhaps, for you than some of these guys who are used to driving in the enclosed boxes?
No, I don't think so. It's just with Indy cars, we run for a much longer distance, so it works out about the same in the end. You run for a shorter distance in these cars, but it's a little bit hotter, so you probably feel about the same.
Everybody with the Porsche seems to be having trouble right now. How are you doing?
Well, we're doing okay. Our car's running pretty good. It stays pretty consistent, which was one of my concerns going in the race, and we can run just as quick at the end as we can at the beginning of our stint, so we're looking pretty good right now.
Thank you, Jeff. Let's go to my colleague, Chris Economaki.
Okay, down here it's a busy place in the pits with the number 86 car just getting back on the track with Jochen Master Wheel, and last year's Indy 500 winner, Bobby Rahal, who yesterday won the IROC race here on this very track, gets out. Huffing and puffing, Bobby?
No.
Are you huffing and puffing?
No. Why?
Oh, come on. You know, they said that you were bored here in the log cabin in the infield. I got a great charge out of that. But is knowing the track as well as you know it a big plus?
Well, I don't think it hurts by any means, but there are a lot of good drivers. Al Holbert spent a lot of time here and people like that. And, with the caliber of driver, I don't know if there is a home track advantage, really.
Okay, what about today's race to the track and your position?
Well, we're running a soft compound tire, and that hurt me in the beginning. It was really pushing a lot, and we caught back up a bit, but we're going to try a little harder tire and see what happens.
Okay, we'll be watching you. Good luck. Thanks, Bobby Rahal. And in a matter of moments, Al Holbert's number 14 will be coming in alongside, and we'll be back for that. Back to you, Ken.
The interval is 13 and 4/10 of a second, first to second place. Al Holbert over Bob Wallach as Porsche 962s now run in the first three positions. Holbert Robinson's car in first, then the BF Goodrich car, followed by the car right here, the number 86 in third, and in the fourth position is the Nissan, now being piloted by Elliott Forbes Robinson. That's the story up in front. The lead car in Camel Lights is the Durst Brockman Pontiac Fiero. They're running 8th overall in the field, with Meade McAdams' number 43 Porsche Fab car running in the 9th position. There you see the number 52, Cyril Vandenberger's car, which had trouble a few laps ago and fell back. And there's the number 63 in 96, which is developing its own war. Jim Downing is running 11th overall. 96 is Tom Hessert out of New Jersey. Many of you racing fans remember his dad, Ed Hessert, the doctor from New Jersey, who used to run in Grand National. And this is his son in that number 96, closing up on number 63, the 85 and 86 IMSA small prototype champion, the Camel Light champion here, Jim Downing, being challenged. In their category, they are running for 4th and 5th overall. And we have a car looping down here in the area of the carousel turn. That's one of the Buicks, number 64, getting fired and coming back out. The Bobby Brown Ken Nutt car, a Buick Argo, back underway after looping in the carousel.
Well, with all that tape on his nose, I don't think that's the first time he's looped it today. It seems like he's had a few other bodywork problems earlier on today.
They've changed the curbs here to some degree, and it's really creating havoc with some of the competitors.
Well, last year the curbing they had installed, for some reason, if you stuck a wheel on the curbing, it would literally suck your car off. So this year what they've done is they've shaved the curbing down, but they've installed about 2-inch pipe. The trouble is, if you get on the curbing now, before it would just suck your car off, now it's going to rip the nose of the car off, and it could really damage a car.
So we have a lot of bob-nosed cars running around here before the afternoon is over. We'll be back with more. It's a beautiful day, it's a beautiful race, and the pressure is on this man for his 4th in a row, Al Holbert. More from Mid-Ohio shortly.
The leader, Al Holbert, still to come on pit road. Elliott Forbes Robinson now in 2nd place. Darren Brassfield is into the 3rd place car. Jochen Moss is 4th. And it is not Weaver, but rather Rob Dyson, the owner of car 16, who is in the 5th spot. Just climbing out of the now 3rd place car, Bob Wallach, the Frenchman, is standing by with Bob Marchand.
Bob, you were absolutely exhausted when you got out of that car. How do you feel now?
Well, I'm fine now. But I'm not wearing a coat suit because the car is overweight, so we try to save every pound we can, and obviously it's very hot in the car.
If it's overweight now, what's going to happen when your sizable friend Darren Brassfield gets in?
Well, I don't know about brass. I don't know how heavy it is, but for sure, in my second stint, I'm going to be at least 4 pounds lighter.
You have spent a tremendous amount of time trying to develop this car into a consistent front runner. How's it coming?
Well, we were quite far back 5 months ago, and we're much closer now. As you could see, I started 7th, and I was catching and catching and catching. We aren't there where we should be. I mean, I'm pretty sure that in a short while, another 2 or 3 months, we're going to be leading all the races and probably pulling away. At least I hope so.
Okay, thanks. Bob Wallach, who's in hard training. He'll be at Le Mans next week driving for the Porsche factory.
That's right on the jet tonight and over there to Le Mans for that 24-hour endurance contest. Now, number 14, while we heard the interview with Bob Wallach, 14 dove into the pits and made its stop, changed drivers. Let's take a look. We can show it to you. Here it is in replay. Al Holbert peeling out of the car, making the driver change. Chip Robinson getting in for his first stint, which can be a short one today. Holbert, who has been doing driving and extensive training, because he too will leave the moment this race is over to go to Europe and prepare for next weekend's 24-hour Le Mans contest. That efficient crew out of Pennsylvania, putting the Holbert team's efforts back into the race. Car number 14 is out, and it is in second place. And let's go to Chris Economac.
You're looking at quite a fatigued Al Holbert. He just stepped out of the leading car. Al, it looks like it was hot in there.
It was hot, but I wasn't anxious. Going pretty slow the last couple laps between traffic and messing around with the reserve pump. I'm not sure it was worth it.
Al, what about the car? And some of the competitors are making changes on their cars to make them go faster now that they've had a pit stop. Did you change anything on your car in that area?
No, I hope they go slower. It's a gamble. It's always a gamble. And I was going to make a change, and then I overrode the change. The car started to come back to me.
Okay, now what about Chip? How are you going to evaluate his performance based on lap times, what he's listening to the radio, and when will you get back in the car?
Well, he'll have to tell us how he feels. The second session is, and he won't be able to tell us till towards the end of the session, so I'll have to hang around.
What is his window, so to speak? How many laps must he drive, and how many can he drive?
Well, there's 2 windows. One is for his points, and that's, I think, usually a third. So that would be 43 laps. And the other window is the fuel. And we have about a 25-lap window there. In other words, 25 laps to go, or 51 laps to go, we're okay. So it's a 26-lap window. But I'm not sure. We have to evaluate how much slower we go and look at the tire wear.
Okay, fine. So there's lots to think about for car 14. Al Holbert, thanks very much. Back to you, Ken.
And as we watched the 14, you also saw Hessert moving around the Downing car, and their battle further back. Jim Downing's car has now fallen to 12th, and Tom Hessert in the 96, that's in the light category, is up to 11th on the overall board. That makes, in the light series, Durst and Brockman still in front, Bell and Klein in second, and Hessert moves to 3rd overall in the light category.
Well, not to belittle Tom Hessert, but I think David Loring might have started that car. David is an excellent, excellent driver. He was one of the Formula Ford champions in the early 70s, and the way that car has moved up through the pack indicates to me that David, a super aggressive driver, might be the one behind the wheel right now.
And the former winner in this series with the lights this year. Loring already has a win.
Absolutely. At Lime Rock, David won with a car of his own design, a car he built himself in Italy.
Here you see the 83 as it struggles its way back up to be on top after these pit stops. Car number 83, Elliott Forbes Robinson and Jeff Robin, the co-drivers of the machine. Elliott now getting the opportunity to do some running with it. Is being shown first. And after the pit stops and the driver changes, Al Holbert, Chip Robinson's number 14 is in second, with Robinson now at the keyboard. In 3rd spot is Darren Brassfield out of California, who will go Indianapolis car racing probably before this season is over. Might make the last 2 events of the year, and certainly has aspirations for the Indy 500 a year away. In 4th place in this field, Jochen Maas is now in the Ray Hall Maas number 86. In 5th spot, it's the Weaver Cobb car. Showing 6 on the field is the number 10 of Adams and Hotchkiss, And 7th is the Chevrolet, Cyril Vandemerve and Doc Bundy. Bundy now at the controls. 8th is the first of the Camel Light cars. That is the Durst-Brockman team in the Pontiac Fiero, while in 9th is Jim Downing and Mafucci in their Mazda, number 63, and in 10th is Hessert and Lawrence. That's overall top 10.
I think here, something to notice here is the way the Nissan went right by car number 52. The Chevy and the Nissan usually are direct competitors on the track, but because the Chevy lost a few laps earlier on, he was a sportsman and seemed to let the Nissan just go right by, not to foul up his race, because he's 2 or 3 laps behind at this point.
So the Nissan there's the 09 leading in Camel Light competition. Durst and Brockman going for, I believe, their 2nd win of the season in this beautiful Pontiac Fiero, which has livened up things in Camel Light this year immeasurably and given Jim Downing and Mafucci something to really be concerned about. They took the championship in 85 and 86, and right now, Klein and Dell in the 01 car, the sister car to this 09 out of Spice Engineering, is right on top of things.
Well, in the past, last year at Camel Lights, Downing and Mafucci, their strongest point was really the reliability of their car. Pontiacs were fast last year, but they didn't seem to finish very many races. After a winter of testing and a lot of work, they're obviously quite quick right now, and also, in their behalf, they seem to be able to finish races on a regular basis.
57 laps are now being shown on the board as we get close to our Valvoline mid-lap report. Last lap was 102.5 miles per hour. Looks like we may have a new record in this Mid-Ohio Grand Prix. More from Lexington, Ohio, shortly. We're back with you at Mid-Ohio. It's live today on the Superstation, the Mid-Ohio Grand Prix. This car weighs just 2,050 pounds, carries just 31 gallons of gasoline, but has a wallop of 700 horsepower. And right now, Elliott Forbes Robinson, teamed with Australia's Jeff Brabham, is leading this event, attempting to give Nissan its 2nd victory among the manufacturers in this championship battle over the Porsches, which are running currently 2, 3, 4, and 5, and 6 on the field. The Chevrolet Corvette in 7th place. Elliott Forbes Robinson, who crashed hard at Riverside, California a month ago, back at the controls, smoothly bringing this car around. Guy who came all the way up through the Can-Am ranks, the Trans Am ranks, then took a detour into NASCAR racing where he was not successful. Many say that if he had not made that detour, Elliott Forbes Robinson today would probably be considered the premier racer in road racing in this country. But for 2 or 3 years, he took a real shot at the stock car crowd, gave it a good hard go, did not go his way.
Well, certainly Elliott has really come to the forefront in the last couple of years with his Trans Am racing and now driving the Nissan. When I grew up racing, started about 10 years ago, he was always kind of a hero of mine, so I really don't remember his stock car racing problems, but I remember always watching his brilliance on the track in the Super Vs and Atlanta cars, and now the Nissan.
Leading by 7 9/10 of a second. Car number 83. Robinson, broken shoulder and all, continues to draw away and stay out in front of the number 14. Here you see the 96, the Loring Hessert car, which has its own war going. He's back in 9th place, and there's Jim Downing and Mafucci's number 63 running directly behind him. That's the 2nd and 3rd place battle overall in Camel Light. There you see it, Hessert Loring's number 96, and here comes that 85 and 86 champion, number 63.
If you look closely at the 96 car, you can see that it only has one splitter, that aerodynamic device I talked about earlier on the nose of the car. He's obviously come in contact with one of the bumpers or the pipes that they put in before, and I wonder if that's beginning to affect the handling of the car. You can see right here, he only has one of them. The one on the right-hand side of the car is gone.
Right behind the Downing car is the number 43 machine, and that is Chip Meade, Tim McAdam. They're running 11th overall in the field, and they are running 4th in the light class. That's a struggle right there between the 43 and the 63. The long back straightaway. Fastest speed for these cars is here. We talk about them as the smaller prototypes. They get it pretty good through there.
Well, they certainly do. For the amount of horsepower they have, about 330 horsepower, they're probably hitting 140, 150 miles an hour right on that part of the track. And I think as the viewer out there is watching, sometimes some of the best racing here in the IMSA series is in this Camel Light group. Oftentimes it's overlooked.
Here's number 67 once again, now with Darren Brassfield. exciting driver. Oh, he gets everything there is out of a car and then some. And here's the 86 just in front of him. The Jochen Moss Rahal car now being shown in third, and Brassfield is closing another time.
Well, actually, I think, Ken, that the Jochen Moss car is actually just past Darren. They did make a tire change in the front of the car, change the compounds, and it seems to be paying off because they've moved from fourth to third now.
And he's caught for just a moment on one of the Camel Light cars, having to back out of it before he can continue in his challenge to go up among the leaders. You see that little number 34 Kim Campbell out of Texas, Friendswood, Texas, where that Mazda Argo calls home. Now out of the way, and here comes Brassfield trying to close back in again on the number 86 with Jochen Moss now at the controls.
I think through this next series of corners, we'll really get an idea to see whose car is working the best tire-wise, whether the 86 car is able to pull away or whether the BF Goodrich car is able to catch up. The next few corners we'll have an idea of really what's going on in terms of tire wear for these cars.
There's the number 86, which is running third. Right behind him, the number 67, the BF Goodrich car, Darren Brassfield.
Seems to me that the 86 car has just begun to pull away just a little bit, and perhaps what Bobby told us during his pit stop, that the change in tire compound in the front of the car has really helped.
Before the race, Darren Brassfield predicted a tortoise and hare kind of race out here, but with an emphasis on starting up front.
This track is tough on cars. There's going to be a lot of cars braking in the race. The Corvette, the Nissan, they are almost like jackrabbits. I mean, they're so much quicker than us horsepower-wise that if they lead early, we're kind of hoping that we have the Porsche, the old reliable, that will be there at the end. And, if, you know, that's kind of what we're shooting for. If we can qualify in the top 4, we think we have a good shot at winning.
Off the negative camber corner into the back straightaway. Looking over at a Camel Light car, which he wished wasn't there, cost him a little bit of time getting out of that corner and into that chute.
I wonder if Darren might be having a little problem with his brakes. For a brief moment there in the in-car shot, you saw him look down and reach over to something, usually on that portion of the dash, which is where he was reaching. Sometimes it's the brake bias knob, which is what determines how much braking power the front brakes have in relation to the rear. It looked like he was playing with that, so maybe he's having a brake problem right now.
And he's still adjusting. I was shifting there.
Yeah. That shot gives you an idea of how much pounding the driver takes in these cars.
Darren Brassfield, California driver, strong in Trans Am, wants very much to move on. He'd like a crack at anything. He'd like Formula One. But right now, he also is making a real effort to get into Winston Cup stock car racing. And his dad at one time brought Richard Brooks over from California to race there. He got him started.
Well, Darren's the kind of character now that I've known him through this series, and he's a real character. I think if there was a truck race or a bus race, Darren would be out there hammering on somebody.
A grocery cart race.
Sure, Darren would be out there racing it.
Well, here he is, number 67, maintaining the 4th position. And now you see him just great pictures from inside the car, giving you an idea of how that car works and how he controls it.
Well, if you look at his steering wheel right now, he's really got that steering wheel cranked over around that corner. That suggests to me that the front tires of the BF Goodrich car have gone off a little bit. They've lost their grip. In other words, the car won't put track around the corner anymore, so it's slower around the corners. And as a matter of fact, the 86 car has almost disappeared. There he is again. Look how far he's got that steering wheel just cranked in that corner. They need more grip on the front of that car right there.
Amazing pictures on car number 67 as you see how it works to the spectator, and you get a bird's eye view of what it's like for Darren Brassfield.
See how much he's got that steering wheel turned over? They're definitely, in my opinion, having a problem.
Meanwhile, car number 09 is pitting. That's the leader in the lights. Durston Brockman's car is on pit road. Durst, the driver, currently.
These two guys, I think, are the characters of Camel Light. They're a real fun couple of guys. They race very, very hard, but when they're out of the car, when they're out to dinner at night, they like to have a good time. And I remember before Columbus, a race they won last year where they were drinking a bottle of champagne to celebrate the race the night before the race, and yet they went on and won it.
That's the old Curtis Turner philosophy of racing.
That's what you hear the stories about the old guys in the 60s having a good time.
Right after World War II. Not the way it's done anymore. Curtis Turner's great philosophy was you wanted to get just enough under your belt so that you didn't care what happened. He and Joe Otherland.
These two guys are very good drivers. They take their racing very seriously on the track, and they seem to enjoy it off the track as well.
Here's Chris Economac.
Well, we got a chance to talk to some of the drivers that have gotten out of the prototypes after their first stint on the track. You know, when the race took the green flag, there were 17 Camel Light cars in the field and 11 prototypes. And the prototype drivers now say that the drivers of the Lights cars are really getting in their way. They're not giving them the lane. It costs about a second a lap once you have to slow down to wait for a Lights car to go through the corner. One top driver said the GTO and the GTU drivers used to give us a lane, but the Lights drivers don't. They're not happy about it. Back to you, Ken.
Thank you, Chris. Al Holbert's record of 4 in a row in jeopardy by this man, number 83, Elliott Forbes Robinson, as we reach the halfway point in the Mid-Ohio Grand Prix. The most beautiful road course in America, giving us a great event before a tremendous crowd, and we'll be back with more of it in a moment. Amidst the farmland of Mid-Ohio lies the beautiful Mid-Ohio road course, and on this 2.4-mile track, this car, the Nissan number 83, driven by Australia's Jeff Brabham and the United States' Elliott Forbes Robinson, is in command, leading Al Holbert and Chip Robinson. In the third position, Jochen Maas and another Porsche 962. Darren Brassfield has fallen to fourth. Jim Weaver, Price Cobb's car, is in fifth. Jim Adams and John Hotchkiss sixth. Seventh is the Chevrolet of Cyril Vandemerver and Doc Bundy. Bundy now at the controls. In eighth and leading in Camel Light, the Durst Brockman Pontiac Fiero, while in ninth is the Hessert Loring car, and in 10th is Jim Downing and John Mafucci in their Mazda. The heart of every race is its engine, and IMSA offers more mechanical diversity than any other racing series. Dave Despain has a look at today's GTP engine lineup.
Chevron, famed for its Can-Am and Formula cars, is the new home for the venerable Cosworth V8. The Cosworth dominated Formula One GPs for years before the turbochargers took over. It makes its IMSA debut today. This Ford Maxim challenges the IMSA turbos with a monster motor, a 427 cubic inch boomer made legal this week. And because it's an old-fashioned pushrod engine, the car also gets a weight brake. The biggest motor in the field thus rides in the lightest car. This Corvette is consistently the fastest of the turbocharged Chargers. It's good for 180 miles an hour here at Mid-Ohio. And the team has roots in the good old boy tradition of American stock car racing. The Japanese weigh in with this equally potent Nissan ZX. In only its second full season, this high-tech turbo V6 powered a winner at this year's Miami Grand Prix. Those engines are challengers. This Porsche 962 is home for the champion. Porsche's horizontal 6 is not the most powerful motor out there, but it's the most reliable. It's not the fastest, but it's seen the checkered flag 37 times since its debut in 1984. A variety of engines add spice to IMSA racing, but the Porsche is still meat and potatoes.
Well, there you see some of the folks enjoying this beautiful Mid-Ohio course. It's interesting to me. They have such respect for this track. You don't find much litter laying around as like you find at other tracks. People clean up themselves. They're so pleased with the way this facility looks when they get here. And they really take pride in it out here in Ohio. Might be a little difficult to get into and out of sometimes, but it's certainly worth it when you get here to see the great racing this track puts up.
We're having a heck of a race here right now, Ken. These are the two Camel Light leaders right now. First and second fighting for first place, although I do think the 96 car may have not made its first pit stop yet.
That is the Loring Hessert car, and as we have it right now, they would be second and third with that 09. Did 09 pit?
No, 09's right behind them, right. They have pitted, though.
Oh, 96 big mistake. And making a big one.
That is David Loring. I can tell by the paint on his helmet. That's a very uncharacteristic mistake for that fine driver.
Watching it live here on the Superstation as car number 96 gets out from underneath David Loring, and it allows car number 43, Meade McAdams' car, to pick up the spot, move to the second position overall in that field, and now car number 96 immediately comes on pit road. Just before the carousel is where that action took place. Tricky turn down there, as we observed yesterday.
Very tricky turn. The car gets very light as you come over that little rise, but fortunately for David and his crew, if it had to happen, it couldn't have happened at a better place. It was about ready to make a pit stop anyway, so it probably didn't cost him that terrible amount of time.
Driver change, and Hessert takes over once again in car number 96 in the Camel Light Series, Mazda Tiga. The engine got killed for just a moment there. Meanwhile, back in front, car number 83 still has a iron lock on this race, but is pitting. Car number 83 coming in.
This is, I think, maybe an unusual pit stop for this car. No, this should be at second refueling, according to my lap chart here on how many times they need refuel. This is the second time in. It's about the same amount of laps they ran the first time in their first tank of gas. But this does mean that they will have to make another pit stop before this race is over.
Bob Barsha.
In the Nissan pits, you see Elliott Forbes Robinson has climbed out of the car. Jeff Brabham will go in and hopefully try to take this car the rest of the way to the finish. We'll have to be watching, as Whitney pointed out, whether or not they're going to have to make another stop. I know they do not want to, and I'll be checking with the crew as soon as their business is done to see whether they're having some kind of a problem with fuel. As you can see, the nose of the car has just come off, and their problems may be a lot deeper than just fuel. There may be some kind of a handling problem. EFR was motioning at the front end. I'll see if I can get a word with Elliott to find out what the problem is. Elliott, what's wrong with the car?
I don't know. Something went wrong in the handling, and it looks like maybe part of the tub has a crack in it. They're checking it now.
Would that be terminal if there's a crack?
I don't know. You'll have to ask the crew. I just walked off to get out of the way.
Okay, Elliott Forbes Robinson is out of the way, but this could be a tremendous turnaround at the front of this race. Back to you, Ken.
As you see, Jeff Brabham has now stepped out of the cockpit of car number 83, and this could be terminal. Right here, the helmet is coming off, and I would say it's tout fini on number 83 this afternoon here in the Mid-Ohio Grand Prix, and that would put Al Holbert and Chip Robinson into the lead. A cracked chassis they're reporting on that car, and here's your new leader. Will he be able to stretch it for his fourth win? We'll know this afternoon here at Mid-Ohio.
From a few thousand feet overhead, it looks so peaceful, so quiet. Sunday afternoon in the farmland. Get down just a little bit closer. This is what it looks like. Action. 180-mile-an-hour action here at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course, the Mid-Ohio Grand Prix. If you've just joined us on WTBS, your timing is impeccable because we still have an hour and a half of red-hot racing to go. We're halfway through this event. Time for our Valvoline mid-race recap, and indeed we have shuffled the deck here just within the last few laps. Let's take a look at how the field stands here in this 1987 running of this event. Elliott Forbes Robinson and Elliott Forbes Robinson has dropped off the leaderboard now. In just the last couple of laps, that car developed a crack in the chassis and may indeed retire from the event. Chip Robinson now leading. Moss, Brassfield, Weaver running in the top 5 positions. Remember, this was the mid-race recap, and halfway through, this is the way they stood. Now, in 9th spot was Mike Brockman, leading in the Camel Light division after David Loring spun that car and dropped down into 2nd spot. All of the green cars are the Camel Light machines, and down in 12th spot is the car that has dominated that division of competition throughout the season. They've got a lot of catching up to do. And here are the cars further down in the field as we review the top 20 cars in our Valvoline mid-race report. Great competition in that Camel Light division. Now, as we look at the cars that are out of the event, unfortunately, our Camel Light camera car went out early. It was not a camera problem. It was a mechanical difficulty, and our old friend David Hobbs went to the sidelines early with overheating difficulties on his machine. As we mentioned, Forbes Robinson and Brabham now out of the event as we bring you up to date on the cars that are out of the race. 4 cars are on the lead lap. Big story coming in. Who could challenge the dominant Porsches in this event? Obviously, the Nissan had a tremendous challenge to bring to the race. They led it through halfway and then dropped out. The other major challenge was from the Corvette, which has not won a race this year. They came to Mid-Ohio loaded for bear with 2 cars, bringing in the Andretti cousins, Michael and John, to drive in the race. But unfortunately, that challenge didn't last long. Let's take a look at how it began to go away very early in the event. Michael Andretti started the car after qualifying very well, but in the early laps, he got himself off track. He just tried to go too hard early, and there you see the car looping around off the racetrack, just bumped the wall, didn't do serious damage there, but later that car and the team car of Doc Bundy and Sarl Vandermerve spent extensive time on pit road, and they have now fallen off as challengers to the Porsche. The Porsches are on top, and that's an old story. We're halfway through. Let's go back to you, Ken.
Well, the lap count right now, 75 of 129 laps being completed this time about. And out in front, Al Hobert, that impeccable driver from Pennsylvania, 6-time winner in the IMSA Series. 4 times in a row here at Mid-Ohio is what he's seeking this afternoon, and he looks to be on his way. He's accomplished that at one other facility, that being Road Atlanta, and he has a 36-second advantage over the second-place team of Jochen Mass from West Germany and 1986 Indianapolis 500-mile champion Bobby Rahal. I would assume that this is the point where that Mass-Rahal team will really buckle down. That interval should begin to disappear.
Well, hopefully, if they are going to make a charge for the lead, now's the time to do it. A lot of the Camel Light cars have fallen out, which gives them a clearer track. So if they're going to make a push for the lead, they've got half the race left. They have to start now.
There's your leader, car number 14, here in the countryside of Mid-Ohio on a lovely day. The third spot, number 67, Darren Brasfield. They say his car, the BF Goodrich car, is having trouble with the gears now. He may have trouble holding it in gear. The fourth spot car is Jim Weaver and Price Cobb in the Dyson machine. For a moment, there had been a report that Rob Dyson was going to suit up again today. That now proves not to be true. The fifth spot, Jim Adams and John Hotchkiss. So, as the leaderboard works into this time, it is Porsche once again dominating through the front 5 spots with the Chevrolet of Cyril Vandemerver showing in 6th position. Currently, Doc Bundy is driving that Vandemerver-Bundy combo car. The 7th position in the race is the first of the Camel Light cars, and that is number 43, Chip Meade and Tim McAdam with the 09 of Durst and Brockman in the 8th position overall and 2nd in Camel Light. Brockman, who is one of the editors of Motor Trend magazine, does some stunt work out on the West Coast, and an actor now and then, is doing a good job. He's been leading much of the day. Now has fallen back into 2nd position in the lights with Don Bell and Jeff Klein maintaining 3rd in the light series. Here's the number 52 car. That is 6th overall in the race. Doc Bundy now driving, and they have made their 2nd pit stop?
No, they've only made 1 pit stop, or excuse me, they've made quite a few pit stops. How many times they've refueled the car is, I don't really know.
Here's Bob Barsham.
Well, Tim McAdam is standing by, ready in cool suit and cap to take over for the leader in the Camel Lights class. That's Chip Meade in the Porsche Fab car. Tim, you guys are working a little bit different strategy today. Tell me what you're trying to do.
Well, basically what we're trying to do, Bob, is pressure the Fieros as much as we possibly can. If we can push them and push them and push them, I think they're making mistakes, and they have made mistakes. So if we can just hang on there, and hopefully a caution will come out, and I can jump in.
So Chip Meade has been sent out basically to try to pressure those guys into a mistake. You have not done an awful lot of race driving. Tell me about getting into a hot situation like this.
Well, the pressure's on, let's put it that way. I've never been up this far in my life. And after only 8 races, to be stuck into first place and to try to hold first place is quite exciting.
Well, it's going to be plenty exciting for Tim McAdam, and we'll be watching. Thanks a lot.
Tim McAdam of Greenwich, Connecticut, getting ready to step into this Porsche number 43, now leading light. They've had a race victory with this team, the Fab car this season, and there are the first place cars in the prototype and in Camel Light coming down through together under the bridge and into turn number 1 of the 15-turn 2.4-mile course. There you see them. Al Holbert leading in the prototypes, and the number 43, Chip Meade, leading in light. We'll be back with more in a moment.
Promotional fee and consideration paid by STP. For nearly 3 decades, America has been driving and winning with STP.
STP is the racer's edge.
And by True Value.
In June, get 2 Master Mechanic 6-piece combination wrench sets, both for just $9.99. Look for the banner at participating True Value hardware stores.
With 78 of 129 laps complete here at Mid-Ohio, Porsches dominate the event. They run in the top 5 spots. Let's take care of one last bit of mid-race business here. There was a challenge to the Porsches today, and it earned a few bucks for the Nissan team here. They went out, unfortunately, with a cracked chassis after leading this race at both the 125 and 250-kilometer mark. They were the True Value leader of the pack during the first half of the race today, but a mechanical bug took them away. Jeff Brabham got the first $500. Elliott Forbes Robinson, the second $500. It won't buy a new chassis, but it at least eases the blow a little bit with the money from True Value. Let's get back to the action now with Ken Squire.
Thank you, David. Here he is, 40-year-old Al Holbert's car, now being driven by Chip Robinson. We saw Holbert through much of the first half of the race, chauffeuring so beautifully, bringing this car around. He has won here on 6 times, once in a Can-Am race back in '82. And, of course, the mark he's seeking today is 4 wins in a row. What makes Holbert so good with it?
Well, there's one thing people overlook a lot, I think, in racing, and that is racing is a team sport. And just like a football team, you can have the greatest running backs, you can have the greatest quarterbacks, but if your line stinks, your team's going to get clobbered. So too in racing. One of the things that makes Holbert team so good is they have no weak links. They have a strong car, maybe not the fastest, but it's strong. They have 2 strong drivers, and they have a real strong crew. There are no weak links, and therefore, as the races go on, sure enough, who always appears at the front but Al Holbert?
Does he keep searching for new people all the time? Has he got a scouting crew like they would in football?
No, I don't think so. I think most of the people who work for Al are very loyal to him. It is a winning organization, and there must be an attitude there, something that they do in-house that keeps everybody happy, everybody loyal.
Now, car number 10 in trouble and trying to get back out here. The 5th place car, Jim McAdams and John Hotchkiss in their Porsche 962. There you see the Downing Mafucci car making a maneuver to get around in there. It wasn't quite as close as it looked from that camera angle.
It doesn't look like the car is really that damaged. You saw the wheel up in the air, but that's really a function of the chassis being very stiff and the car being at a weird angle on the track. Nothing really bent, I don't think, on that car.
Al Holbert has said that there are other tracks that he enjoys more than Mid-Ohio because this is such a difficult course. I think that's one of the reasons why he likes to do well here. He loves the challenge.
Well, certainly I think all race car drivers love challenges, and this is one of the most challenging tracks in America. There's lots of places where you can make a lot of mistakes.
Coming into the pits is number 10 is the Schubot car, the Camel Light Series. That yellow car right behind it, and 52 is back in another time. Doc Bundy.
Well, Doc's...
correction, they did not pit.
No, they didn't.
But your correction.
Doc looks like he's about ready to pass the number 10 car. I think the driver of number 10 car, who I think is John Hotchkiss at this point, is just really trying to sort himself out after that accident, making sure the tires aren't covered with dirt or grass. It didn't really seem to hurt the car, otherwise he would have come into the pits. I think he's just trying to mentally collect himself and get going again.
Number 52, staying with the program in 6th position, Doc Bundy now. There's the Corvette. 2 of them started today. 1 has been retired, the Andretti car. Let's go to Bob Richards, who is standing by with a GM Goodwrench report today on racing around the country. Bob?
Well, thanks, Ken. There's a lot of racing going on this weekend. One of the other marquee events is the Bendix Trans Am out in Portland, Oregon. Scott Pruitt, the top qualifier. Now, Scott has won the first 2 races in this series. He's hoping to make it 3 in a row in his sport a little bit later on this afternoon. The NASCAR Grand National Circuit made a stop in Indianapolis last night. 20,000 fans, a standing room only crowd on hand for this event. Defending series champ Larry Pearson had the fans on their feet. He passed Elton Sawyer on the last corner of the last lap, went on to take the checkered flag. Now, the World of Outlaws were in Canandaigua, New York this past weekend. Take a look at the start. Mark Kinzer minding his own business on the outside, but watch out. Brad Doty slides across, punts him right out of the speedway. Now, fortunately, he was all right. Mark's cousin Steve in the black number 11 has been the dominant force on the circuit this year. He was leading once again, but ran into lap traffic. Doug Wolfgang got by on the inside and went on to win. Steve Kinzer ended up 3rd. Well, I'm going to be back with another GM Goodwrench update a little bit later on in the race. Now let's go back upstairs to Ken.
Thank you, Bob Richards. Here's how they're running. In this 129-lap event, well past the halfway mark, number 14, Al Holbert, Chip Robinson. Robinson now at the keyboard is leading. Jochen Maas's 962 is in 2nd. Jim Weaver, Price Cobb, 3rd. Darren Brassfield, Bob Wallach, 4th. 5th, Jim Adams, John Hotchkiss. 6th, Cyril Vandenberger, Doc Bundy. Leading in Camel Lights, Jim Meade and Tim McAdam, with Durston Brockman in 8th and 2nd in Camel Light. More in a moment. The scene at Mid-Ohio, just 80 or 90 feet away from where the action is this afternoon. This beautiful pond. Here's some of the crowd looking on. Looks to be a record crowd watching the number 14, and he's just put another lap on number 52, Cyril Vandenberger, running in 6th position. The sister car to 52, the number 22 with the Andretti cousins, is back on the track. Michael is out here, and we see something breaking up. That almost looks like pavement coming out from under there. Here's 67. It's been in the pits. That seems to be a problem on the B.F. Goodrich car.
Well, actually, I just did a little math, and we're on now lap 84, which means it's 45 laps to the end of the race. That car can go 45 laps on one tank of gas. What they've done is taken Darren out and put Bob back in the car to do the last 45 laps of the race.
So Bob Wallach of France is back in the B.F. Goodrich, number 67. They'll be making a stab at moving back up the leaderboard, climbing up on the ladder, where now they have Weaver Cobb in third, Moss Ray Hall in second, and Al Holbert continuing to dominate. A track that he finds challenging and difficult, that he calls not his favorite, is one that's done him pretty well. 6 victories previous to this afternoon.
Well, I find it hard that he doesn't call this track his favorite track anymore after 6 victories.
Holbert says relaxing in Mid-Ohio is just about as difficult as any track he's ever driven on. There's not much room, even though you see those long straightaways, and you'd think there's a little breathing in there.
Well, there really isn't really a long straightaway here at Mid-Ohio. You're probably flat out down a straightaway for about maybe 10 seconds at the most. 10 seconds to relax out of an 80-second lap is really not a whole lot of time.
Tough to get a breather here at Mid-Ohio. Whitney Gantz along with us this afternoon, covering the action at the start-finish line. Dave Despain at the STP Pit Center. Chris Economaki and Bob Barsha working the pits for us, and Bob Barsha has this pit report.
Ken, moments ago, Tim McAdam was preparing to get into the leading car in Camel Lights for Chip Meade, but Tim, you're still here. What's going on?
Chip thinks this is a decathlon, I think. He's very comfortable in the car. The cool suit's working. He feels good. He's rattling off some good times, and we decided to let him in the car. He'll tell me when he's ready.
Okay, great. John Higgins, the team leader, turned around after the pit stop and said, well, I guess the seat belts are stuck. Back to you, Ken Squire.
That happens now and then, right?
Well, it seems the problem with me with seatbelts is they come undone at the wrong problem. And that can be a real hassle, because not only do they save you, obviously, if you make a mistake and hit something, but more importantly, they really hold you in the seat. The seatbelts come undone, you've got a big problem.
The number 43 car, Chip Meade and Tim McAdam, staying up in there, holding its own. Durst and Brockman staying with them as the battle continues here at the Mid-Ohio course. Car number 22 is being reported as 14 laps behind. Remember, we mentioned the Andretti's were back. Well, not only are they're back, but they're way back. 14 laps down is the report on the Andretti's. Here's the Lowenbrow car out in front. Car number 14 steaming along at a very nice rate this afternoon. And if there was ever a driver, if you had a choice between stand on it or patience as a virtue, patience as a virtue is always Holbert's philosophy.
Always, always. The man rarely makes a mistake. He's very intellectual the way he approaches his races. A great statistician and strategical planner. I think I want to mention something here is that Robinson obviously is past the window.
Let's go to Chris. Chris?
Okay, here the number 22 car is in the pit with Michael Andretti, set to replace his cousin John as they struggle to get out of the car. Gets back in. The problem with this car is that it can only go 37 laps on a tank of fuel. And there's about 40-some laps left in the race, so they're going to have to come in with the late going for just a splash of gas. It's way down in the standings, but they're still persevering. They want to prove they can finish. Tremendous amount of horsepower delivered by this turbocharged V6 Chevy engine. More horsepower than his Indianapolis car, says Michael Andretti, but other problems have put it way back. We're going to try and get it worked now with John Andretti here to find out how the car is working. He's taking his helmet off. Looks like... Okay, John, how's the car? Is the problems behind it?
Well, the car's running reasonably well. The problem is, we came in the pits and it had a tendency to stall and stall. And Michael, first time we couldn't get a restart, we had to change one of the units in the motor. But once it got going again, it was fine. It just ran a whole fuel load, so it's fine.
Okay, let's hope it keeps running well. Thank you, John. Let's go down pit road now to my colleague, Bob Barsha.
Thanks, Chris. I'm with Darren Brassfield, who just got out of the 67 car, presently shown in third place on the racetrack. Darren, you look just about as hot as Bob was when he got out.
Yeah, we're not running a cool suit to try to save on some weight. And, it's pretty hot inside the car.
I was getting real warm and the transmission was jumping out of gear, so I brought it in and turned it back over to Bob. Hopefully he can finish with it.
Your career is still on the ascendancy. The learning curve is still going up. What have you been able to learn from a guy like Wallach?
Well, I've driven with a lot of great drivers, and Bob is probably the best in this type of racing, I think. And I've learned just setup mostly. He's worked with setup with me, and just watching what he does and just a visual look helps, I think, in the career.
Okay, with Darren Brassfield, his learning experience might include a victory today with Bob Wallach.
Frenchman Bob Wallach, 4th place now in the field, trying to close on Jim Weaver, driving the number 16 for Dyson Racing up at Porsche 962, that is in 3rd. Jochen Moss and Bobby Rahal out 2nd, and Al Hobart, Chip Robinson maintaining the lead here at Mid-Ohio in our live coverage from the Superstation this afternoon. There you see the 67 car out of commission for 5 weeks while they did a lot of extensive testing trying to put that car back together, and it is working well with the exception of a couple of problems. Gear is certainly one of them, and heat inside the cockpit a real problem.
Well, I'm really surprised he didn't run with the cool suit, because that's always a problem with this track. No matter how cool the ambient air temperature is out of the car, this track is so physically tiring, and the insides of the GTP prototype so hot. But I'm surprised he didn't realize they were going to have a problem.
How hot?
Oh, some cars, 110 degrees. The Buick Hawk, the car I drove the last couple of years with the radiator in the front, I would assume that sometimes the temperature inside that car was somewhere around 130 degrees.
Whitney Gantz alongside this afternoon as we bring you this live coverage from Mid-Ohio, and watch Al Holbert go for number 4. More in a moment.
You ever heard of race car drivers running with the family car oil? These do. Winners like Jeff and Brett Bodine, Tim Richmond, and Darrell Waltrip. They use the same new Superflow 10W30 motor oil you can buy in stores. It has a special additive wear band that's super at blocking wear. Right, guys? Right! Good catch. You play football? No, too dangerous. Want your engine to last? Go with the Flow. New Superflow.
We're back at Mid-Ohio, the Mid-Ohio Grand Prix. We've just had a shuffle in the top 3. Bobby Rahal and Jochen Moss have just come on pit road. They were running 2nd. They'll fall to 3rd. Brassfield and Wallach will move up. Here is the pit stop as they prepare to change drivers and go to work on that car. Now, they had fallen from 2nd to 3rd on the racetrack moments before the stop. Bob Wallach back in the 67 BF Goodrich Porsche, went out on the track, passed Jochen Moss, who was driving the 86 machine, and now they are in the process of their service and getting back out onto the racetrack. So we have had a shuffle in the deck here as the 86 car makes what should be its last pit stop. Let's go to Chris Economaki.
Okay, I'm here with Jochen Moss. He doesn't look too tired. Tough stint, Yoki? Difficult stint?
No, not really. It gets very slippery, actually. The track's opening in some places, and it gets very, a lot of gravel and stuff.
What about the car? Good shape?
Positive shape.
Good as a driver?
Do what, Fred?
Not quite.
Not quite. Okay, Jochen Moss joking as he gets out of the car. A consummate professional. Let's go now back to Dave Despay.
Now, keep in mind that will be the last pit stop. We're seeing one more pit stop still to come for the leader, Chip Robinson. We anticipate Al Holbert will get back into that car, and how quickly they can make that change could be the key to victory here. Pit stops are all important, and as they come up on the last round of pit stops, it could very well decide the running order among what has become, yet again, a Porsche parade. Back to you, Ken.
That was back 1 lap, and now, of course, Jochen Moss and Ray Hall's number 86 here has fallen to 3rd after they came in and made their final pit stop. The Darren Brassfield Wallach car has made its final pit stop. We're still waiting on Al Holbert and Chip Robinson. Is that a real concern when you bring one of these 962s, one of these big prototype cars into the pits, last pit stop, it's getting hot in there, the car's beginning to shake a little, that it may not fire and get back out?
Well, usually the car will keep idling by itself. Usually it's not a problem. Sometimes it is a problem. But what I like to point out is last pit stops, when you got a big lead, remember Roberto Guerrero at Indianapolis this year. When you think that all you have to do is send the car back out, that seems to be the time that something happens.
Car number 14 staying in front, Chip Robinson out of New Jersey. And he may be getting ready to pit right now. Next time around, Robinson may bring this car on pit road. 32-year-old Oldwick, New Jersey native. and he has been moving along. He finished second here a year ago when he drove with Bob Tullius in the Jaguar, and now part of this legendary Holbert team in American road racing. Has brought himself up through the ranks over a lot of years. Used to have a small team of his own with Steve Haverness, who we saw one of his cars earlier in competition.
As far as Chip Robinson is concerned, despite the neck problem that he had this week, he is going to hold on to the series point lead if, in fact, they can bring that car home a winner today. Now, the idea going into the season was that he would be the lead driver on the car. Al Holbert, as we said earlier, would back off on the driving responsibilities a little bit and try to help Chip hold off the other championship challengers who were anticipated to come up and make their run at that number 14 car, which Holbert took to the championship the last couple of years. As it's turned out, with Al doing an awful lot of driving this year and finishing either first or second every time he's been in the car, he is the second place man, and he will climb back in the car now as number 14 comes on pit road. Let's go to Chris Economac.
A very fast approach to the pit by Chip Robinson, and the engine is stopped now. That's unusual. They're getting it restarted, and it looks as though Al Holbert is going to leave Chip Robinson in the car. Robinson must feel pretty good. He's giving him something to drink, talking to them about the way the car is running. The engine's going. It's a very fast stop. This should be the end of the pit visits for this car unless trouble comes along the way. We'll try and get a word with Al Holbert here. Al, what made you decide to leave him in the car?
He felt fine.
Yeah.
I'll have to go to Germany.
You're going to go to Europe and run Le Mans next week. So Al's taking it easy now and letting Chip do the work for the final few laps of this Mid-Ohio Classic. Back to you, Ken Squire.
So all the pressure stays on Chip Robinson. Back when he was a high schooler, used to see him in the pits working on cars. Just a pit stooge in those days. Took himself to a driver's school. He's made his own way. Came up through the V's into the Formula Ford, and here he is with this great Lowenbrow team. Al Holbert and company leading here at Mid-Ohio, trying to give Holbert his fourth straight. 129 laps, the mark to make it complete this afternoon, and right now they're showing 92 complete. More from Mid-Ohio in a moment. It's a gorgeous afternoon here in Mid-Ohio, and this course in Lexington, the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. We're watching Al Holbert and Chip Robinson going for it with this car, number 86, now the Challenger. Jochen Mass and Bobby Rahal, and Bobby Rahal is currently at the controls of this Porsche 962, the Bruce Levin car that is maintaining second place. IndyCar champion Rahal and the European endurance veteran Jochen Mass are about as different as two men can be. But on the racetrack, they are two of a kind. Dave Despain has more.
Well, I find Bobby a fantastic teammate, and I'm not saying that now to give him a compliment, but I find him very, very cooperative. I find him very professional in his approach, which he obviously is anyway, but he knows what it's all about. You know, he can put the finger on it and say, that's good, that's bad, that we don't have to try anymore, and so on. And I think we correspond quite easily, and I'm happy to drive with him. I couldn't think of a better teammate right now.
Jochen and Bobby have driven together twice this year, finished second and first. Rahal says the Admiration Society is mutual.
I defer a lot to Jochen because he's had a lot more experience with the cars, and of course driving for the factory, he knows what works and what doesn't generally, and when the car feels good to him, it feels good to me, and that's always a help. You know, when you've got two different opinions about it, somebody's going to suffer in some way, shape, or form. So it's you know, I just think that's part of that whole package of the combination that it's certainly been the best I've ever been involved with, because we do, I think, drive alike and we think alike.
Bobby Rahal. Back in the action, there's the light activity at the present time. 09 and 01, once again in Camel Light competition, are running first and second. That's Durst and Brockman running in 7th position overall. First in these smaller prototype cars, none turbocharged, lighter weight, less expensive, and right behind them, Don Bell and Jeff Klein.
During the last driver change for car 01, Jeff Klein took over for Don Bell. Jeff Klein is a real fitness freak. He runs about 10 miles a day, and I think in the heat of today, In the later stages of this race, what you're watching right now is maybe Jeff Klein's fitness regime really paying off, because he's caught up 3 seconds in the last 3 or 4 laps to the leading car there, and I think he'll go by in the next few laps.
That's the battle, and it's Pontiac Fiero running first and second at this juncture in the Camel Light category at Mid-Ohio. 09 and 01 nose to tail, both the cars, bodies built and chassis in England, Spice Engineering.
I think if you're going to see a pass here, where you're probably going to see it is either this lap or the next lap at the end of a long back straight. It will give him a chance to draft by the car and use the deep braking area to slip by him. It may not happen this lap, but it's going to happen the next lap or two.
Well, we'll stay with it for a moment and see how this battle develops. And to the inside, right in the keyhole, making the move. Klein gets in there and throwing the block to stay in position is Brockman.
Well, I think he was a little early on doing it there. I would have slowed down a little bit and waited for the straightaway, and here he's just powering right by. I'm actually a little surprised on how easy that was for him to get by him. Obviously, it looks like his motor is running a little bit stronger. The 01 motor, a little bit stronger than the 09 motor.
Jeff Klein, currently 4th in points out of Malibu, California, has taken over in the Camel Light competition. 1 win in 1986, and of course this season they've just turned that whole thing on its ear. It used to be almost the exclusive property of Jim Downey.
Absolutely. The Pontiac Fieros have done a lot of work engineering-wise over the winter, and it's paying off this year. And Jeff Klein, he's won quite a few of these Camel races. I think if he were able to pull this off and win this race, I think it'll be his 14th or 15th Camel win. So it's no slouch there behind the wheel. You have one of the best drivers driving this car right now.
Interesting how many of these drivers are now turning to long-distance running to stay in shape. Chip Robinson in the lead car, in the 14 car that's leading overall in prototype, runs in 10K events, 8-mile competition, and enjoys it. Went out this morning and ran several miles, even though he has this terrible tension pull in the back of his neck that affects his shoulder and one arm. And that's how he tries to work out of it, and they recommend that he do so.
Well, absolutely. To drive these cars these days with their ground effects and the G-loads and the pounding, you really need to be in good shape. I myself run a lot, and when I was racing Formula Atlantic cars, I used to run about 8 miles a day. My thinking was some of the other guys might be warped enough to run 4 miles a day or 5 miles a day, but no one was warped enough to run 8 miles a day, so that's the number I settled on.
There's Klein leading in Camel Light. The Durst Brockman number 09 is running in second, and then the Porsche Fab car is third in that division. They're running 7th, 8th, and 9th overall here in the Mid-Ohio Grand Prix. These beautiful cars from Spice Engineering running 1 and 2 in lights, and they are gorgeous.
They really are, and you listen to the guys who are driving them talk, and they are super handling cars.
Well, now we're back with a car that's had a few problems today, as we heard from Darren Brassfield, but Bob Bullock in the VF Goodrich car has that machine in 4th. After the pit stops have been completed and driver changes, car number 67, Bob Bullock, finds himself in 4th and trying to roll up some time on Price Cobb and Jim Weaver, maintaining 3rd in Porsche 962s.
You know, they may only be in 4th right now, but I think that the VF Goodrich team has got to be pretty happy about this performance today. We're in the very latter stages of this race, and they're still on the lead lap. It's probably the most competitive the car has run all year. It may not be the highest finish, but it's the most competitive finish they've had in a while.
98 of 129 laps have been completed here at Mid-Ohio as you watch number 67 with Frenchman Bob Bullock at the controls, maintaining the pace. And all of these drivers preparing here, get down to these last 25 or 30 laps, and then it's overnight jet lag and get ready for Le Mans.
Well, absolutely. These guys, Price Cobb, Cyril Vandermeer, Al Hobart, Chip Robinson, quite a few of them are flying over to Le Mans right from this race, so I'm sure they're looking forward to that, and they might have some concentration problems here at the end of the race.
World-class competitors here in Mid-Ohio this afternoon as we watch car number 14 continue to draw a bead on another victory on this very difficult 2.4-mile course. Back in a moment.
Here at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course, there is a growing sense of desperation among many of the contenders in this field as they try to catch the fleeing Chip Robinson, who is the leader of this race with now nearly a minute advantage and just 29 laps to run. But there is also a sense of tremendous relief among the television crew here, and I'll tell you why. The appearance of a new name on our True Value Leader of the Pack award means no one will sweep the 3 awards for 125, 250, and 375 kilometers and win the race. The executive producers, $1,000 will stay in their pocket. But True Value will pay $500 to Chip Robinson for leading at the 375-kilometer mark to go with the 1,000 that Elliott Forbes Robinson and Jeff Brabham share for taking the money at the first 2 increments. And now the big story, who will hold on and win this race? And to update the action, let's get back to Ken Swan.
Thank you, David. And that is the story in that leaderboard, as we saw the Nissan dominate the first part of this race, and now it's all Porsche as they have the front 4 positions in the event. Doc Bundy and Cyril van der Merwe in the Chevrolet, entered by Rick Hedrick, is running in 5th. Here's the lead car, number 14, here at Mid-Ohio. A track that is significant for Porsche and for the 962 model that you see here. Sells for around $380,000 a copy, and put together a few guys to work on it for $1.2 million, $1.3 million. You can have a lot of fun. The first race ever won by a Porsche 962 in North America was won on this track back in 1984. So Porsche has very fond memories of this facility, and they haven't lost very much since. They have been dominating through 85. They won 70% of the IMSA races. Then it came up to 80% in 86. A really tough team. Jaguar has taken them about once a year. And of course, Chevrolet and Nissan working on them. Nissan has won at Miami. Ford trying to get back into it again. We understand something about Toyota getting a prototype together.
Well, certainly Toyota did have a prototype earlier on this year. Unfortunately, they had a problem in testing at Riverside and destroyed the car along with Dennis Ossie's feet all in one whack, which is really unfortunate for Dennis. But in the GTO race, which was won by a Toyota today, I think the potential has been shown in that motor. If they could put it in a GTP car, they might have a heck of a package.
We'll update that story about that earlier GTO, GTU race in a moment. The track, as you heard a few moments ago, Jochen Maas was talking about how slippery it was getting. For more insight on that, here's the editor-publisher of the National Speed Sport News, Chris Economaki.
Keith Rinsler just got out of his Buick Argo in the lights category, and he says it's really slippery out there. Is it slippery all around, Keith, or just in spots?
No, it's getting pretty slippery all around. And the tires, the Goodyear tires, are doing a pretty good job, but the track itself, the heat seems to be making it slippery out there.
What about problems it poses for the experienced driver as opposed to the inexperienced driver? Is it really tough for the newcomer?
Well, yeah, it makes my job a lot harder, that's for sure. The problem is, if your car starts to be ill handling towards the end of the race, then if you get offline, it's really slippery. And if you try to move over a little bit to let one of the faster cars through, it's very hairy. So I'm sure the lights drivers are getting aggravated just as well as the big ones.
So the lights drivers are not able to move over for the big boys, huh?
That's right. It gets real tricky if you try to help them out a little bit.
Okay, and inside into the race in these late stages. Back to you, Ken.
A bit of a bookworm. He's an all-A student at Boston University, a business major at that, out of Atlanta, Georgia, and a member of the famed Rinsler family of American road racing. Here's the number 14 car, still dominating, but his lead, they're biting away. He's lost about 5 seconds.
Right now we have the 16 car in the pits, and that is not a scheduled pit stop. Yeah, obviously, you can see the little fire burning in the front wheel. He has some type of brake problem. I wonder if maybe the pad has disintegrated and landed on the inside of the wheel, and maybe that's what's burning, is actually the brake pad.
Staying with this car for a moment to see what the circumstances will be involving Dyson Racing's effort here today with Jim Weaver and Bryce Cobb.
They could have also lost the wheel bearing there. That's another possibility, because it seems to be that right front corner definitely has a problem.
So by inheritance, car number 67 will pick up a spot here. Here comes Wolick back up to third.
Well, this is a long race. As I said, it was an endurance race, and you can't finish the race unless you're running on the last lap. You can't win it unless you're running. And that's something all these drivers have to think about at the start of it.
105 of 129 laps now being worked here at Mid-Ohio on this 2.4-mile course. Dyson car in trouble, and it can happen to anybody in these very expensive, very exotic cars, as we've seen it happen to this car on many occasions.
Well, actually, Al's team should have won quite a few races this year, but it seemed like in the last 10 laps, 2 or 3 races, they've had a problem. They have finished second place in those races, but they should have won them, and so no one is totally protected from these problems late in the race.
The only team to repeat this year in the previous 7 races has been this number 14, but then the drivers weren't the same. Chip Robinson, of course, coming up and being given credit on one of those, and the Holbert name came up on another. But other than that, it's been new faces right up on the checkered flag lap time after time. So although some may say that the competition is lacking in numbers in this division, they certainly are getting a lot of different winners. Working the 107th of 129 laps here at the beautiful Mid-Ohio Road Racing Facility, Lexington, Ohio, on a doubleheader day here on the Superstation. Coming up, it's the Braves in San Diego. 4:05 will be joining the action there. Right now, we're seeing a record-breaking pace being established by this man, Chip Robinson, in car number 14. The race record is 98.855, established just 1 year ago by this very same car. Al Holbert getting the credit then with Derek Bell. Right now they're averaging 101.8, so the old record looks like it's going to fall by the wayside as Chip Robinson continues to reel off the laps. 3 hours, 7 minutes, 54 seconds was the record on this very same car. This car out of the Holbert stable has won 7 races, including this very event a year past. So they're hoping it'll stay just as it did a year ago and bring them to victory. The last time this car won was in Portland, Oregon in '86. Although the interval is beginning to shrink. We had it at almost a minute. How about it now?
Well, right now it's 43 seconds on that last lap. Whether Chip is tiring out or whether he's driving very intelligently, realizing he only has about 20 laps left with a 43-second lead, that means he can slow down 2 seconds a lap. And as Jackie Stewart always said, the idea is to win the race at the slowest possible speed.
It has been an absolutely remarkable race. There have been no serious incidents in it. Had a couple of guys spinning off. But Jim Truman, who put so much work into the detail of this track, into everything, for the spectators, for the participants along pit road, also thought about the drivers because he was one. And there's one of the neatest units that's been constructed for the drivers. It's the field hospital here at this track. And Bob Barsha has this live report.
Ken, indeed, Jim Truman was a driver, and he knows what drivers want most from a racetrack. This is the Mid-Ohio Emergency Medical Center. Medical Director Staff Dan McNutt has some 50 volunteers on hand out on the racetrack, paramedics and emergency medical technicians, everyone. Should there be an accident, they would bring the driver through these doors and into this marvelously equipped facility. Ready to handle anything from the poison ivy and cuts and bruises suffered by fans and pit crewmen out on the racetrack, all the way up to the more serious problems that the speeds and the violence out there on the racetrack can generate. The most recent resident of this medical center was Mexican IndyCar driver Jose Le Garza, who broke his legs in an accident not 50 feet away when he hit a bridge abutment last August. Thus far today, there have been no new residents of this center, and hopefully there will be none.
That's fully staffed from the time the track opens, even through the evening, if anybody had a problem. They just do a remarkable job. Jim Truman just kept on thinking about the details of what people needed at a race facility, and the good news is there have been more sunburn treatments than anything else this afternoon here at Mid-Ohio.
Yeah, he certainly did a good job when he thought about putting together this track. For instance, the garage floors are absolutely level, and that's exactly what you need to set up a car. Usually teams have to bring linoleum tiles to use as wedges to get the floor level. But Jim Truman, thinking ahead, knowing what racers want, poured absolutely level concrete pads in each of the garages. Perfect places to set up your car's chassis.
Sorely missed, but well remembered.
Absolutely.
We now have Holbert and Robinson lead diminishing as Moss and Rahal now in the car, is definitely on the move. Meanwhile, we're watching the Camel Light cars, and there you see that 01 battle, 09 and 43. That is first, second, and third. And although there is a big interval, 30 seconds, which isn't very big at all, up there in front, look at this, nose to tail. You'd think we were back on the Super Speedway watching Winston Cup among those Camel Light cars today.
They're having an excellent battle considering the late stage of this race. These drivers are giving it their all right now, using everything they have, because if they don't do it now, there's not enough time in the race to make it up later on.
And if you're just joining us, that is a prototype Pontiac Fiero, built in Great Britain, number 01 leading. There's the second place car, the Porsche number 43, Chip Meade and Tim McAdam, and right behind it, another Pontiac Fiero prototype. That car is the number 09, Durston Brockman, and he's making a move on the 43 right here for that position once again. Great scramble coming right down by the pits and into turn one.
Well, I don't know if that shot there was really indicative of the Fiero's superior horsepower. It certainly looked like it. It could be a handling problem in the Fab car. That's the Porsche car, but he was able to pull away.
And there's the leader trapped right in behind there, trying to get some running room, trying to find any place to run. He can get him here in this long straightaway. Coming around through the keyhole, 09 holding the Robinson car for just a moment, and that's to the advantage of Jochen Mass and Bobby Rahal in second place, who continue to gather ground.
That's absolutely right, but I think Chip is really driving an intelligent race right now, and rather than pressing his way through those cars, he decided to take it easy and wait for the straightaway.
Whitney, interval now just 37 seconds. We must go away from the race for a moment. Bob Richards is standing by. All kinds of important news, including that GTO-GTU race that they ran prior to this afternoon. So let's go for a GM Goodwrench update. Here's Bob Richards.
Well, thanks, Ken. We'll get to that a little bit later. The racers on two wheels are also quite busy this weekend. The AMA Supercrossers are making their first ever appearance at the Meadowlands this afternoon. Jeff Ward, the series points leader in that one. He's hoping to extend that lead over Rick Johnson and the rest of the field with another win this afternoon. Let's go back to Ken upstairs.
Car number 14.
Car number 14 is coming into the pits. Obviously, the tires are gone.
And it's the right rear. Let's go quickly to Economaki. Chris Economaki.
Well, apparently there's been an emergency radioed in by Chip Robinson. His car is headed into the pits here. They're going to change the tire. The left side tires look okay, but there's smoke coming in from the left rear corner of the car. We don't know whether it's brakes, tires, wheels, bearings, or whatever it is, but it's an unscheduled stop. His lap times had gone way down from 23 seconds to about 27 seconds, and it looks like the left rear suspension corner is in trouble here. As they take the bodywork off, Robinson gets a look inside of it. It looks like a half shaft. It may be a half shaft here. It may be the end of the day. Robinson's getting out of the car. At least he's opening the door to get some cool air. It's a tough break for these men. As you can see, they're working on that left rear half shaft. Men with gloves on. Everything down there is absolutely red hot. Impossible to touch anything without gloves on. And you can see the ease with which that comes up and down. Things are absolutely not right in the left rear corner of the car. And whether they'll be able to repair that and get it back on the track in the few minutes that remain is questionable. In the meantime, the lead has changed out on the racetrack. Let's see if we can't get a word here with Chip Robinson at the wheel. Chip, any idea what's wrong?
I heard over the radio that the left rear upright is broken or something back there.
Okay, a suspension support on the left rear corner. That, of course, is a terminal ailment. So that looks like it for car 14 here. Back to you, Ken.
Left rear, you can see it lifting as it started to come on pit road. New leader, here he is, Bobby Rahal. The local guy, his home track, out in front with West Germany's Jochen Mass, his teammate in this car, and Bob Wallach of France in the BF Goodrich car now moves into second position. And Whitney, you've called it, if it finished now, see if you'd have bet twice and run them only a mile in the Derby, you'd be the winner. Of course, they ran a mile and a half, mile and 3/16. Let's go back to Bob Richards with more on the GM Goodwrench update.
Well, thank you very much, Ken. As we were talking about the Oldsmobile Columbus GTO-GTU event, which was held earlier today, Willie Ribbs in the number 99 Toyota led for most of this event. He was really dominant early on in the race, but then he fell behind Jack Baldwin. After taking the corner here, he went into the pits. Baldwin had a better pit stop and got out. Willie T was not about to be denied, though, with less than 10 laps to go. There he does. Takes Baldwin on the inside, his first series win of the year. What was the difference?
I could lead from start to finish. Here, we didn't have as good a pit stop as some of the other guys. So I said, all right, let's see what you're made.
Well, Willie T is confident as ever. That's it for this GM Goodwrench update. Now back to Ken upstairs.
There's only one Willie T.
I don't know whether to say, yeah, I mean great, or thank God to that answer.
There's car number 67, now your second place machine, Darren Brassfield and Bob Wallach. Rahal leads Wallach by 38 seconds. 38-second interval between first and second among these giant prototype automobiles. Racing out the Mid-Ohio Grand Prix, 129 laps the distance. 112 have now been completed. There's your leader. So the question is, will the same evil problems that have followed other leaders here today begin to burden this car? And maybe the BFG car here will come home first. The third-place car has just broken down on course. Price Cobb clambering out of car number 16, the Dyson car, walking away, and the pace, a record-setting pace, is breaking these record-shattering cars. First, the Nissan going away. Then the 14, the car striving for 4 wins in a row for Al Holbert, broke. Now we see the number 16, here it is, slowing down and pulling off.
Well, Ken, I really don't think this problem was related to the problem we had earlier when the car pulled into the pits and it looked like there was a little fire on the inside of the wheel. Drivers are a pretty lazy group, as I know them, and if it had just been something related to the front of the car like it was before, he'd have driven around and into the pits. I'd say this is something far more terminal, more like a motor problem.
Having a chat with some of the fans here this afternoon as he becomes a bystander and a viewer as well. Price Cobb. Let's go to Bob Barsham.
Pat Smith is the crew chief on the Dyson Racing Porsche number 16. Pat, what has Price been able to tell you?
We're not quite sure. Something broke, I guess, in the right rear. So corner workers reported sparks. Price said the car just stopped. He's out of it.
Do you suppose the hot early pace might have had anything to do with it?
No, I don't think so. I'm not sure. I can't tell you what it is at this minute. I don't think it had anything to do with the pace.
Okay, until the car goes back, we won't know. But Price Cobb and James Weaver are apparently out of it.
Left rear, right rear, sounds like it might be the same malady on those 962s.
Yes, this track is bumpy. If you get offline a little bit, you do hit some rattle bars. Perhaps that's had something to do with it. But I would like to report that the Holbert car did just leave the pits and is back out there. That means more points in the point championship for Chip Robinson.
And they have him officially listed in 4th position. We'll wait and get that verified. The car in front, there you see the number 14 back on the track, but well down from the leaders, Bobby Ray Hall and Bob Woolick running 1 and 2.
Although Chip has made a long pit stop here, and it looks bad possibly for his points championship, the guy chasing him in the points championship was Price Cobb, and he, as you saw, just pulled off the track. So in actuality, Chip, even with his long pit stop, has really helped himself even further his lead in the points championship.
Well, there's the leader, and this is the car that won the 12 Hours of Sebring this year with Ray Hall and Mass, and then won at Laguna Seca, California with Klaus Ludwig, the West German driver. Well, sprint race they have out there.
This is an excellent car and an excellent crew. And I think what we're seeing now is showing that that early, maybe intelligent pace is paying off in later parts of the race.
And patience is a virtue.
Especially on this track.
Car number 86, Bobby Ray Hall. 86, Indianapolis 500-mile champion at his favorite track here in mid-Ohio. Brings this car around to complete. Check on our laps right now for you. 116 down of 129. The pace still could be a record today. The old mark of 98.8 is being solidly hit by all of these 962s. Chris Economaki, do you feel that this pace that they've been setting, well over the record, is finally catching up with these cars? What's your estimate of it?
Well, as I see it, Ken, these cars are set up to go at a certain pace. When you go beyond that, the weak links break. Now here we've had 2 Porsche 962s drop out within moments of one another, or suffer the same problem with moments of one another with the suspension system. In other words, the weakest link on the car is the first thing to go. And at 100 and whatever it is miles an hour, 4 or 5 miles an hour more than last year, then that weak part is going to let go. And apparently the Achilles heel of the 962 at least here in Mid-Ohio is in the rear suspension system. They're going to have to work on that, and they'll get that fixed. And the next uptick in speed, something else will give problems, whatever it may be. And I think, yes, I think the cars are showing the strain of the added speed.
I think they're showing the strain of what happens on these corners with these new bars that have been installed that are about a 2-inch riser, and they'll really grab the steering wheel right out of your hand if you're not careful.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if it wasn't a heck of a ride when you get off the track just a little bit and run the tires of your car right over those. Maybe that is some of the problem we're seeing right now.
So, as the race runs down, here we have Bobby Ray Hall leading. Bob Woolick of France is in second. And Doc Bundy currently is being shown in third with the Jim Adam, John Hotchkiss car in fourth, and Al Holbert, Chip Robinson car, Robinson driving in fifth. Let's go to Bob Barsham.
I'm standing in the pits with Jochen Maas, who teamed with Bobby Ray Hall of the 12 Hours of Sebring. Jochen, I'm feeling deja vu. In the last stages of that race, a problem suffered by the Holbert car allowed you and Bobby to get to the front. You had a very unhealthy car in that race. How are you performing right now?
It looks pretty good. Now we can take it a bit easier, even though we're still pressed by Woolick and Braskill's car. But that's the thing, you know, you have to finish first. You know, if you have little failures here and there, that's unfortunate. But you know, you have to count that one in too.
And we'll take the victories any way we can get them.
We try. It's not finished yet.
That's true. Jochen Maas and Deja Vu down here in the pit.
Jochen Maas seeking his second IMSA victory, his first in that combination ride at Sebring this year. And Ray Hall now has it in his hands to give Jochen a mark in the record book as a two-time winner in the International Motorsports Association.
Well, I think if you wanted any co-driver to bring a car home at this point on this track, you're looking at the man right now who's driving the car, Bobby Rahal. He knows the track like the back of his hand. He's driven Porsches long enough to know how to handle them towards the end of the race, what might break, what to take easy on the car, and he's certainly proving that he's an intelligent driver right now.
Chris Economaki, any further update on car number 14 as to what they had to do to get him back in the race, Chip Robinson?
Well, yes, I just checked with the crew here. It's interesting. It wasn't a broken left rear upright. They thought it was broken. It was the bolt that held the support arms to the upright that had pulled out and fallen out of the car. They just replaced the bolt, and it's back in perfect shape now. The pressures were on the bolt in there rather than the part itself. So car 14 is back in perfect shape on the track.
Thank you, Chris.
You know, that part, that bolt you're talking about, or what I think you're talking about, is made out of titanium. Super strong, but I think it's kind of interesting to know that for the one bolt, Porsche charges $60 to $70 for that one bolt.
One little itty-bitty bolt?
Well, not too itty-bitty, about the size of your pinky finger, but it's a lot of money for that one bolt.
There it is, car number 14, now being shown in fifth position, Chip Robinson, and running a lap down at least, perhaps more. 4 laps down, they're saying. Back with more and the finish shortly.
At the Mid-Ohio Grand Prix, Bobby Rahal, the hometown hero, is leading this race with just 8 laps now to go. He wants to be the star of our Eastern Airlines Victory Lane interview, and he wants to get there in a hurry. He just cut a lap at 102 miles an hour, and apparently is not the least bit concerned about the attrition that has befallen his 2 primary rivals, Chip Robinson in the Porsche and Bryce Cobb, also Porsche mounted. He's headed for home as we go back to Ken Squire to call the finish.
Down for the finish, car number 86. It is Bobby Rahal, victorious in the International Racing Champions. Looks like he's on his way again. He has a 34-second advantage, which isn't very fat by endurance standards, but he's there over the second-place car. This man, Bob Woloch of France, already. Al Holbert has left the track. His dad is flying him back to New York, where he will then get on a jet and head overseas for the 24 Hours of Le Mans. Woloch will arrive sometime tomorrow morning and prepare for that twice round-the-clock ride. It's interesting that the Porsches, there's the 52 car, Cyril van der Merwe, who is running third now in this race, with these cars dropping by the wayside, attrition developing. The Cyril van der Merwe Doc Bundy car up to third, and it is van der Merwe back at the controls of the Rick Hendrick machine. Again for the front, Porsche 962s 1 and 2, Rahal and Woloch, followed by this van der Merwe car, and then this car, number 01, Don Bell and Jeff Klein, and it's Jeff Vine currently at the controls, is leading in the Camel Light Series. Number 01, Klein is there with 09, Thurston Brockman in the second position. Maintaining third is Chip Mead and Tim McAdam. Fourth, Jim Downing and John Mafucci. And fifth is Tom Hessett and David Loring. Back once again with this number 86, this 962. Porsche domination will continue here at Mid-Ohio still another time. And boy, do they dominate. This 110-inch wheelbase car has just been the mark of road racing in the United States since it was introduced. Doesn't get beaten very often. 16 Daytona 24 hours, 11 in a row have been won by the 962. The last 12 Sebrings have fallen to Porsche power. And today we're seeing more of that. The last 16 of them, well, not all 962s at Daytona, of course, but since the days of Ferrari down there, it's been a little meek for other folks.
Well, Porsche has done their homework. They specialize in this type of racing, although they do have a motor in Formula One cars, and they are going to have an Indy car later on. This is really Porsche's forte. They're obviously on the top of the heap now, but one thing a lot of people don't know is it took Porsche 18 trips to Le Mans before they won it. Now that they've done their homework, now that they know the business of endurance racing, they're on top of the heap, and they intend to stay there.
Car number 86, into the last laps. 123 complete, 6 to go. There's about 2.5 inches of ground clearance on these 962s. And in the World Endurance, they let them come right down to the ground. They even have more ground effect on those cars. We keep hearing more about some of those European challengers coming over. They'll have to jack them up a little. That will give them some trouble getting adjusted if they want to come into this American series, which in my mind is far more interesting than the European series, where it really is an economy run and isn't nearly as much fun.
Well, certainly over in Europe, they do have to run with fuel consumption in mind. They only get so much fuel to run a race with, and when your fuel cell, your fuel bladder that you have in your pits is out of gas, that's it, you're done. I do have a concern about this car. I just watched the second place VF Goodrich car come by the pits, and it did not accelerate very fast. Once it got towards the end of the pit straight, it seemed to pick up speed, which tells me one thing, and that is that I think the car has lost second or third gear. It accelerated very slowly and then got going, which would probably jive with what Darren said, that the car was jumping out of gear.
123 laps now down, and here is the leader, Ray Hall, continuing to trickle off the laps. Really started driving on this track. His dad used to bring him here. And of course, Ray Hall, a great favorite of Jim Truman, had great faith in him as a driver. Thought he had tremendous talent. He certainly proved it for Jim last Memorial Day and winning the Indy a year ago at Memorial Day at the Indy 500. Bobby Rahal says that it's not a lot of fun to share the racetrack with cars like these Camel Lights going 40 miles per hour slower.
Like playing chicken, but everybody's going the same direction. It's really kind of scary on occasion, because you just come up on them and you're going so much faster, and you think they see you, but you're not sure. You hope they see you, and you hate to be committed, to go for a space, especially with that case in the back straightaway here, and then find all of a sudden the guy didn't see and he moves across, which has been known to happen. And you really have to be on your toes. I think in this race, or maybe any IMSA race, certainly driving a big GTP car, that discretion is very much the better part of valor.
That is absolutely true. The pride of Ohio, from Dublin, Ohio, Bobby Rahal. Ohio's been race country for years. I mean years. Back in 1911, they ran a 25-lap, 200-mile race on a 7.9-mile road course in Cincinnati, Whitney, right around Cincinnati. Won by Eddie Hearn, 57 miles an hour. You're back with Bob Wallach once again, the second-place competitor. 34 seconds down from the leader, Bobby Rahal, as the laps wind out. 2.4-mile track, 15-turn course. It's live here on the Superstation. Coming up, it's the Braves and San Diego, the Padres, this afternoon. There's the Loring car, number 96, which is being shown 5th in the light category. Camel Lights, he's 11th overall, just being overtaken and lapped once again by the leader, Rahal, having a magnificent weekend at a place he really calls home.
Well, sure, this is Bobby's home track. He lives in Dublin, Ohio. He went to school in Ohio at Denison. And to win 2 races of this caliber, international race champions, where you're racing against guys like Mario Andretti, Dale Earnhardt, and then to follow it up the next day and beat guys like Al Holbert, Bob Wallach, Cyril Vandermeer. That's a heck of a weekend by anybody's book.
There he is, and that's one of the most difficult parts of the course. Right there, you just saw him going through. If you just joined us, it's a little downhill, and it will throw you off to the side. We saw Andretti in trouble there earlier this afternoon.
Well, that's the place where Michael lost it. That is a tough corner. It's completely blind with a big elevation change right in the middle of it. Very easy to lose a car there.
Lose the downforce there, and you can really go flying. Trying to escape some of the sun here along pit road this afternoon. Watching these final moments trickling down with 126 complete, 3 to go. Bobby Rahal seems on his way to victory. Have you ever got down to those last couple of laps, thought you had one in your pocket and found out there was a hole?
Oh, I think a lot of people have, and it's really interesting, the different perspective on drivers at this point in the race. If you have this kind of lead and you only have 5-10 laps left in the race, you can't wait for the race to end and get the checkered flag. But if you're trying to catch up, you wish the race was 50 laps longer.
Of course. You see the 09, the second-place car in the lights, directly in front of the overall leader. big prototype 962. You know, if you'd like to buy one of these cars, I understand that Preston Henn and A.J. Foyt each have one for sale, just slightly used, $380,000 check will do it.
Well, except for Preston's car. Now, Preston, his car has a little history, so you couldn't just take his car right from him. He's advertising it for over $600,000 because A.J. won a couple races in it.
The name value alone.
Name value alone. Now, $600,000, I think that's a fair price for a used race car.
Number 86 getting used right now by Bobby Rahal as they try to score again, as they did at Sebring. Car number 23 in trouble and off the course. The Petrolak car, that Buick Argo, is not going to make it all the way, but came darn close. That's about as frustrating as if you break early and have time to go have lunch. That's one thing. If you race all day and don't make it, that's a heartbreaker. 2 laps to go.
Last year at this point at Watkins Glen, with 2 laps left, I was running in 3rd place. And the car, it was very hot, and we'd run a very hard day. And with just 2 laps left in the race, the turbocharger broke in the car, and my heart just sank. Fortunately, we did finish 3rd, but if anything goes wrong right about here, you wish that it happened at the beginning of the race, not now.
Bob Wallach maintaining 2nd place, and what a great comeback that Jim Busby, number 67 team, has made here today. The time off really worked for them. They've got this car dialed in, and as Bob Wallach told you earlier, they intend to be formidable from here on in 1987. Now there's the number 52 car, and he is being shown in 3rd place, Cyril Vandenberger's machine. A fair battle is developing back in 4th and 5th, I believe, that Al Holbert, Chip Robinson car. And if you're just joining us, the effort by Al Holbert to make it 4 in a row, stymied late in the race. They're now 4 laps down, trouble on the back end of the car. 4th place battle is beginning to build up at this point, and we'll try to get to it in a moment. Number 86 stays in the lead. That is Bobby Rahal. Then it is Bob Wallach's car in 2nd. The Chevrolet is in 3rd, followed by, in 4th, Jim Adams, the number 10 Porsche 962, and Chip Robinson maintaining the 5th position with the car 14. In 6th spot is the leading light car. That is the Don Bell, Jeff Klein combination, with Klein currently in the seat. Well, there's that battle.
Yeah, here's the race for 4th place, and Chip really has a beat on him. He'll make his move right now, I suppose. Oh, yeah, under braking into that hard right-hander at the end of the straightaway, and he was able to slip by real nicely. This just pads Chip's points lead by 3 or 4 more points.
10 is like a fighter with his arms down. He's gone 14 and a half rounds, 11 and a half rounds these days, and he just can't get it back up, defend himself at all.
No, it also depends a lot on what condition his car is in. If his brakes looked like they were kind of used on that corner, and Chip was able just to outbrake it pretty easily and go on by.
Checkers about to fall for Dublin, Ohio's Bobby Rahal. The pride of this part of the country. There couldn't be a more popular decision here in Middle America than to see this man take the checkers. Rahal with this beautiful Porsche 962 entered by Bruce Levin is about to score another victory in 1987. Victorious at Sebring with Jochen Mass. This will be Mass's 2nd win. Tabulate Rahal's in just a moment as he scoots around the final portion of the course. Checkered flag to come out on him and give him still another win at his local track.
After my call at the beginning of the race to watch this car and number 67, I don't feel too bad to see this checker either.
Whitney called it perfectly. Checkers coming down, and the winner is Bobby Rahal. Whitney Gant said the one to watch would be Rahal, and the major dark horse to be in at the end of the race was the number 67 of Bob Wallach, and that's exactly where Bob Wallach is about to finish, some 34, 35 seconds down from the leader. Here's Wallach clearing the carousel turn. Tricky, difficult turn. There you see that new curving. Sticks up straight for about 1.25 inches, and then comes off on an angle. There's the 67 car coming down. Bob Wallach very happy with his position.
Absolutely. Bob Wallach giving his crew a little sign there. I'm sure he'd been happier if he'd won the race, but as I said a few minutes before, that is the most competitive finish that the B.F. Goodrich car has had in a long while.
28.16 seconds, the interval between 1st and 2nd, by which Rahal and Mass are victorious. And here comes the Camel Light winner to the line. Car number 01, Jeff Klein, is going to score once again here this afternoon, right up behind the Rensselaer number 61, the Buick, as he comes around the final part of the course. And it will be a Pontiac Fiero, still another time. Boy, they're like tanks this year.
They are really bulletproof. They have done an excellent job in preparing these cars. Jeff Klein has scored 6, 7, maybe 8 pole positions this year. Another win in his pocket. He's looking real strong to win the championship.
A gorgeously prepared car for Jeff Klein comes across the stripe to win in Camel Light competition here at Mid-Ohio. And we'll be back to the winner's circle to meet the champions in the Eastern Airlines winner's circle right after this.
Here are the men that won the race. Bobby Rahal, crew chief Walter Gerber, and co-driver Jochen Moss. Congratulations, Bobby. What a day at Mid-Ohio. Yesterday the IROC, today the big one. And you say that the home track advantage doesn't mean anything. Who are you kidding?
It's a dream weekend for me. I'd like to think that this can happen again, but it's awfully tough. And the Hulbert team, I don't know what problems they had, but they would have been tough to beat, and we were just fortunate today.
Okay, Wally, your car held up beautifully. The number 14 car broke a rear suspension part. Did the drivers take good care of your car?
Yes, they did, and I have a great crew behind me who do a real good job preparing the car.
What do you like? How do you like about driving with our Indy winner, Yoki?
Oh, I couldn't think of anything better. I think we should do that all the time.
You look like you had the easiest day of all. You're cool, calm, and collected.
I did.
3 hours is a piece of cake for a 24-hour specialist, huh?
Well, it was just about a little over an hour, wasn't it? I mean, Bobby did most of the work yesterday and today. That was pretty easy.
Okay, here are the three winners, the crew chief and the two drivers. And now let's go down pit road to Bob Barsham.
Okay, Chris, here in our Eastern Airlines Camel Lights winner circle, Don Bell and Jeff Klein. Don, you two guys are now 5 for 8 on the Camel GT Light season. You guys really get around a racetrack.
Well, boy, we've been lucky this weekend. As I told you earlier, this is the first time I've ever been here, and very challenging track. And I gave it to Jeff in third place, and he put it in first place. So, boy, we feel good.
Jeff, you were absolutely inundated with water when you got in here. I take it you need it after a stint like that.
Yeah, we have a cool suit, and it usually works, and it did. It worked for about 45 minutes, and I think I was in almost 2 hours. So I was roasted, and I was just looking at the laps and trying to keep my concentration going because I was starting to fade a little bit.
And you had a heck of a battle with the 09 car of Durston Brockman.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun chasing them. They're great competitors, and I'm glad we won, but I feel bad for them because they put on a great show.
Okay, and that's it. Bell and Klein, your winners in Camel Lights.
While we're with you here, as we get down to the end of this one, what a great race we have seen. It was very appropriate as far as I was concerned that when this race was all over, it was decided in favor of Jim Truman's favorite driver here on the course, which he just did so much work on and cared so much about. To have Ray Hall have this kind of a weekend is certainly special. For all of us here at the Superstation, thank you for joining us for our coverage this afternoon of the Mid-Ohio Grand Prix.
The Mid-Ohio Grand Prix has been brought to you by Dodge, setting new standards of performance. And by BF Goodrich TA Radials, we make your car perform. And by Budweiser, Beechwood aged for that distinctively clean, crisp taste that makes Budweiser the king of beers. For all that you do, this Bud's for you.